This meeting is now being live streamed, folks.
Okay.
Jai Hare Krishna.
Best
T-Lot's
behavior.
not here anymore.
Oh,
Okay, so I have for us today, I just thought, since it's the appearance of Sri Advaita Acharya,
yeah.
that that maybe we should meditate on him, and if there's still time, we can read Krishna
Yeah.
book. Does that sound okay? Agreeable to you?
Sounds
Wonderful.
great. Yeah, I mean,
You know,
such an
another good
important.
one, Prabhu.
Huh?
Tomorrow, guess whose appearance day it is?
No, within a week.
Don't tell me. Don't tell me. Don't tell me. Um, Hold on. Don't tell me. Don't tell me. Don't tell me.
I don't have my phone. Oh, I do.
This is very appropriate. I'm saying this for a specific reason. I think you will laugh, Gore.
Okay.
Okay. I don't have it written down in my book. Who is it?
Tomorrow is Bhishma Dev's appearance day.
You're
Oh,
kidding.
wow. Yeah. I thought it
Cool.
was like, wow.
That's
Yeah.
right. Thank you. Thank you for making me aware. I'll listen to that. I'll listen to that pastime.
Yeah, we should meditate on that. I actually want to hear also about Bhishma Dev tomorrow.
Okay, so I got a little,
Yeah.
a little song for us here that I just dug up from Srila Lochan Das Thakur, one of our great acharyas. Well, isn't it great that the Pradyumna made it to Govardhan Hill, Bavatrini, and
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
coming out of Govardhan. It's like
Yeah,
a
but
six
sometimes he
Sapta Goswami.
disappears. Part of his body just merges into Govardhan Hill.
Or he's coming out.
Hare Krishna. Okay, where are we here? Do I have? Okay, I'm going to share the screen here for the song.
No, yes, I guess.
And
Then
Jai
you-
Jai Dvaita Acharya Dhoyamoy by Lochan Das Thakur.
Oh,
And this is the melody I know for this type of verse.
oh.
Jai Jai Advaita Acharya Dhoyamoy Jar Huhun Kare Gauravatara Hoy Prema Datta Sita Nata Karuna Sagara Jar Prema Rase Oila Gauranga Sundara Jahare Karuna Kori Kripa Dite Choya Prema Vishe Jana Chaitanya Guna Goya Tahara Charane Jeba Loyala Sharana Se Jana Pela Gora Prema Mahatana Emana Dayara Nidikini Nabajilun Lochana Balini Jamate Vajara Parilun. Jai. Hari Prabhu, would you like to read the translation, please?
He just went to get his glasses.
Oh, okay, Bavatrini, go ahead.
Okay. Hail, all hail to the preceptor Advaita, full of mercy, whose pealing roar invoked the avatar of Gora, giver of prema, lord of Sita, ocean of compassion, whose premaras brought Gauranga Sundara. Whoever receives his mercy, on who he bestows his kind glance, that blessed one becomes immersed in prema and sings the divine excellences of Gora. Whoever sought refuge at his feet, that same acquired the greatest wealth of Gora prema. Lochan says, why did I not adore such a repository of bounding grace? By that I've brought a thunderbolt upon my head.
Wow, it sounds like you got some thunderbolts going on over there.
Oh, he brought me the tray with tea lock and spilt the water, and now he's cleaning it up.
Okay. I need to put some on myself. Anyway,
He was
please
telling
forgive me.
me that
Yes.
wherever Advaitacharya walks, his name was Kamala, and wherever he walks, lotus flowers come up.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's why I've got some here. You see them? Because
Yes.
Advaita Acharya came by here.
Yeah, he walked by.
Okay.
Now that I made him do all this work, why don't you just come and read something?
I gotta get my
Oh, he didn't get his glasses.
I'll read while we wait for Hari Prabhu.
Okay. And I'll put on Tilak.
Okay, so here's the biography of Advaita Acharya. Vrajavesha Rupatvad Vyuho Yopi Sadashiva Sa Evad Veta Goswami Chaitanya Bina Vigraha. Sadashiva, an expansion of the Supreme Lord in Vraj, is here known as Advaita Acharya. He is non-different from Chaitanya. That's a statement from the Gora Ganodesha Deepika 76. Yashcha Gopal Deha Sanvraje Krishnasya Sanidhau Nanarta Shri Shiva Tantre Bhairavasya Vacho Yata Ekada Karit Ke Masi Deepa Yatra Mahotsave Sarama Saha Gopala Krishno Nrityati Yatnavan Niriksha Madguror Deva Gopa Bhavabila Shavan Priyena Nartitum Arab Dash Chakra Brahmana Liloya Shri Krishnasya Prasadena Dvi Vido Bhut Sada Shiva Ekastatra Shiva Sakshad Anyo Gopala Vigraha. In Vraj, he took the form of a coward boy and danced alongside Krishna. This is stated by Bhairav in the Shiva Tantra. Once during the Diwali festival in the month of Kartik, my guru Shankaradev saw Krishna dancing with Balaram and the coward boys. He became desirous of becoming a coward boy himself, and he began to dance, spinning like a whirling wheel for Krishna's pleasure. Thus, by Krishna's mercy, Sadashiva plays two different roles in Vraj. In one, he is Shiva himself, and in the other, he is a coward boy, and that's stated in the Gora Ganodesha Deepika 77 to 80. Did you know that, Bavatrini, that Advaita Acharya is also a coward boy?
No.
Me neither.
And what we learn is actually that when he tried to enter and Krishna introduced him to the gopis, he didn't get quite a warm reception. Actually, they were slapping his face because he hesitated. They were asking, "Who's your husband? Who are your parents? Where are you from? What village?" And he was
he didn't have
and he had the Gopi Swarma had his form as a gopi. And so Krishna said, "No, don't worry. No, I know her. It's okay." And so she entered, but she didn't know how to dance as well as the gopis. So he says that also perfected this dancing in the next appearance date of the Lord of Krishna, which was Lord Chaitanya's time. So now he got promoted as Advaita Acharya. He learned the fine art of dancing with Gauranga Mahaprabhu.
And that was like a desire he had from Krishna Lila.
Right. He tried to
Krishna
join the rasa dance, but Purnamasi or Yogamaya gave him a gopi body, but he didn't have any history. So when he went and tried to join with the other gopis, they said, "Who are you?" And he didn't have parents, he didn't have a husband. So they started slapping his face. His face was bright red, and Krishna came and said, no, he's okay. So then he let him be Gopishwara and guard the rasa dance.
Right.
But
Right.
he still wanted to join the rasa dance, so he told him he didn't know how to dance. So as Advaita Acharya, he's learning how to dance.
These are Sridhar Maharaj.
Yeah.
It's very learned.
And actually, he's now, after Chaitanya Lila, he's been promoted.
Huh.
Also, Chaitanya Charitamrita is going to be in the Srimad Bhagavatam next time around when Veda Vyas.
I said that's a statement by Vrindavan Das Thakur.
Vrindavan Das Thakur says next time
It's in the Mangala.
in the
Chaitanya Bhagavat.
the Kalpas, when Veda Vyas comes to write the Vedas down, Chaitanya Charitamrita will be in it.
When the next year Lord Chaitanya appears, that will be nice.
The Chaitanya Charitamrita will be in the Bhagavatam.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
all
like
the
in the heavenly
associates.
planets, there's more Bhagavatams.
Right.
Right. So when Vedavyas, next time he comes and he does the pastime of writing the Vedas, the Chaitanya Charitamrita will be in it. Will be in
So
there.
we have. I'm
Yeah.
sure the Prabhupada will be there.
Yeah,
And-
it's Vrindavan
but-
Das Thakur says that in the Chaitanya Bhagavat.
Thank you. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But I'm not quoting from memory. I'm quoting from his memory over
Oh, I
here.
do that too.
My better half's memory.
When I last went to Mayapur 2 years ago, I remembered that before beginning a Braj Mandala Parikram, then one must first get permission from Gopishwar Mahadev.
Mahadev.
Yeah.
So I went to Panchagoda Prabhu, the temple president, and said, "Do you have a devotee that could take me on a little bit of a parikram?" I was only there for 5 days, and he gave me a very nice like Gurukula boy, but he was older now, and he had his own little Honda motorcycle, and so he took me on a personal Rajmandala Prikram on a little motorcycle, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And the first place we went was to Gopishwar Mahadev's
Mahadev. Yeah,
mandir, which I think is almost like in the middle of Loy Bazaar, isn't it? It's like near there.
yeah.
No, it's past. It's kind of
He knows where it is, but yeah, that's the recommended is to first go and get permission from
Right.
Gopishwar
But
Mahadev.
guess what day it was when I went? It just happened. Krishna.
Holy.
No.
What was it? What day was it?
Shivaratri.
Yes.
I like, you know.
And it was completely transcendentally mad. I tried to, I went into this little mandir. I mean, I really could see a lot of people were going in. It's this tiny little mandir. And
Yes,
then when I got in, there was like a pujari sitting there, and and he tied this on my wrist. It's still there.
Wow,
Yeah.
2 years ago, you still have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he offered me a lamp, and anyway, I was like up against the wall. I was up against the wall like this because people were coming and going at the same time, and I felt a little claustrophobic, and because it was kind of scary being jammed. I thought, well, if I leave my body in Gopishwar Mahadev's temple, that's pretty good.
That'll be bad.
So
Did Pradumya leave?
looks like it, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and then because he might have gotten a call, and he's got his two babies, and yeah.
I know that temple is so small.
I inched my way in a little more. Then finally, I got into the temple room, and they were doing like a Maha Abhishek. Everyone was like pouring yogurt, dahi, diluted, or milk, or both, and I saw everyone was reaching to touch what appeared to be like a Shiva lingam inside.
Yeah, it
in the
is.
center, yeah.
Yeah, it's a Shiva lingam.
And I thought, well, if everyone else is doing it, maybe I have permission too. I don't know. Maybe it was an offense for me to do it, but I saw everyone else was doing it, and I kept trying to reach over and reach because there were so many people. I couldn't get through them, and I was even afraid that I would fall into the little pit there.
Yeah, because it goes down into
Yeah.
But
I can picture it.
Finally, I was able to stretch out, and I was Jai and the Patni, Hare Krishna.
Well, look, we have a divider.
No more my feet
bedroom.
in people's face.
Oh, that was Nanda Patni's interior decorating inspiration, was it?
Yeah.
What?
Oh, we put a room divider in front of
Ah, that's lovely. I love those screens.
Oriental.
Yeah.
We had it for a long time, actually.
Very civilized.
Thank you.
Isn't that the quality?
From
Isn't one of the gopis kind of like a specialist in interior design?
One of them
Well,
is
Chitra is the artist. Chitra.
Mm-hmm.
And as you do parikrama of Govardhan, I mean, there's a way you can before the place where the milk was taxed from the gopis. There's a little
Yes,
town actually. It's
yes,
Chitra's town. Yeah.
that's right.
And then we saw near Varshana there is another hill with there's a temple on top. Ever seen that? And there is the pujari will bring out the stone where the older pujari told us this is self-manifested. The other one
No,
said
the
no. The older one
the
said
older the it's a painting by
by
Chitra,
Chitra.
Mm.
but
It's
now
very
the
faded. It's on a
teenage
slab of rock.
Pujari doesn't really know what it is.
It's always self-manifested. Okay.
God
But
bless the teenage Pacharis. There's a rather lovely statement that Narayan Maharaj said, if I've got this right, that Shamarani was trained by Chitra.
oh, I heard
Ah.
that.
Yeah, and he said it when they went to that place. They were
That place.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't remember all the particulars, so I don't want to mention.
Mm.
But yeah, that was years and years and years ago when we
Mm.
went on.
He
Right.
got mentioned on the virtual Parakram this last year,
Oh, okay.
Oh, it did.
which
So-
was tremendous. That whole thing was just
Yeah, it was.
really, enlightening for me because it's so thorough.
Yeah.
But it was we own so much a debt of gratitude because all
Oh,
these
yeah.
places now they're alive, and so if we chant
Yeah.
or thinking of Govardhan or what, the image comes real quickly in our minds, and they were difficult because there were, imagine, 1,000 Russians, 1,000 Americans, 20,000 Bengalis or 10, and everybody tried to jam. Some of these temples are so small, and so it was a little difficult. But nevertheless, I mean, we don't remember the austerity. It's amazing.
I don't have it. When I was in the middle of doing it, I had no idea where I was and what was going on.
But,
Speaking of Parakrams, did you see that our lovely godbrother Indrajumna has got this fabulous project in Orissa at the moment?
oh,
Yeah. He was asked by it's some wingman to the king. I can't quite remember his title. Invited Indrajumna to come there to revivify all the old
Oh, I can't.
hidden temples in the jungles
oh,
I can't wait
around
to see that.
Orissa and Bhubaneswar. If you go on his website, they're shooting video every day, which is so beautiful because they're doing a lot of drone footage, which makes it
oh, then
very
you
professional
Right,
because
and
you see the jungle all around and you see
Yeah.
really how far they're walking in to find these old places.
That's wonderful.
right.
It's
So-
rather wonderful. It's very different from the Vraj kind of mood, but it's wonderful.
John.
Oh, we learned so much from the series of Brindavan series, the 10 videos, and I learned things about Govindaji. I didn't know, but Kashishwar was sent. You probably know the story.
But
You know
we're-
about-
Yeah, I followed all his. I would fall asleep to him or
Yeah.
Mahamidi the whole way through the pandemic.
Right. That's what we were doing, like 1 o'clock, 1 a.m. and in that room is playing.
Yeah.
So
So today we're celebrating Advaita Acharya, sorry.
Go ahead. You go
Yeah.
ahead.
Advaita Acharya's appearance day.
Yes.
So Prabhu here, he's been reading and now
First,
he
he
put out
sang
the,
a song to Advaita, and then he told us from what the Ganesh. Are you there, Gora?
I'm just waiting for us to start reading. Go ahead.
Yeah, Gora.
I was
Okay,
trying to
I'll
catch
zip
her
it up.
up.
Gora with his
It's the Ganesh. What is it? Deepika. It says.
Ganudesh Deepika.
Can you tell her that what happened? They were dancing, and he became like a chakra. And okay, can you tell her that? I don't remember exactly. Oh, okay.
It's up. In Vraj, Advaita Acharya took the form of a coward boy and danced alongside Krishna. This is stated by Bhairav in the Shiva Tantra. Once during the Diwali festival in the month of Kartik, my guru Shankaradev saw Krishna dancing with Balaram and the coward boys. He became desirous of becoming a coward boy himself, and he began to dance, spinning like a whirling wheel for Krishna's pleasure. Thus, by Krishna's mercy, Sadashiva plays two different roles in Braj. In one, he is Shiva himself, and the other, he is a coward boy.
Goragano Deshtipika.
So
Bhaktivedanta
would
Tirtha
you like to
Prora.
start?
Okay, we can start.
Go ahead.
You want to go?
I
I
hope so.
already did. I
Okay.
haven't read.
Oh, you already read. Nandapatni
Yeah.
or
No, you haven't read yet. Go
Why don't
Okay.
we read one screen each? Go ahead.
Okay, so this will be the verse, and then all the way to downwards his identity as Advaita.
Yeah, and then it'll be Nandapatni.
Okay, Advaita Tattva. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna Das Kaviraj quotes the following evidence from the diary of Swarup Damodar to describe the ontological principle of Advaita Charya. Mahavishnu Jagat Karta Mayaya Yasrijati Adaha Tasyavatara Evayam Advaita Charya Ishavaram Varaha Advaitam Harina Advaita Acharyam Bhakti Shasana Bhaktavataramisham Tam Advaita Charyam Asraye. Mahavishnu is the master of the universe, which he creates through his power of Maya. Advaita Charya is the incarnation of this form of the Supreme Lord. He is known as Advaita because he is none other than Hari, as Acharya because he is the preceptor of devotion. I take shelter of the Supreme Lord Advaita Acharya, who is the incarnation of a devotee. Chaitanya Charitamrita 1:1, 12, 13. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written, quote, Maya has two functions, and Mahavishnu appears in two ways according to those functions. When he is within the material world as creator, he is the universe's effective cause, Nimitta Karana, in his form as Vishnu. In the unmanifest material energy, Pradhan, appear in the form of Rudra, he has a second identity as Advaita.
Nandapatni, please.
Okay, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur has also written about Advaita Charya in his Anubhasya to Chaitanya Charitamrita 1:6-12, quote, Lord Advaita Charya is Mahavishnu. He is the supreme preceptor. Vishnu's activities are auspicious because of his existence as the owner or master of the universe. He is the root source of all auspiciousness. Anyone who cannot understand that the complications which are ever present in the material universe are beneficial in a way which is pure, eternal, complete, and free is deprived of his true spiritual activity, devotion to Krishna. Advaitacharya is also known as Kamalaksha. The well-being of the universe is in Advaita. He is the abode of all auspicious qualities. His activities are the eternal source of welfare for the world. So he was given the name Mangala. Advaita, the abode of virtue, is a portion, amsha, of Mahavishnu. His full name is thus Advaita, because he's not different from him. He is the most noble personality in the universe, the spiritual master of the Vaishnavas. He thus has two names which come together as Advaita Acharya, because in appearance he has eyes like lotus flowers. He's also known as Kamalaksha, Chaitanya Charitamrita. Gosh, what a wonderful name for someone, Kamalaksha.
Kamalaksha.
Mhm.
We know like Kamalakshi, is it? Or
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vrindavan Das Thakur has also described Advaitacharya as both the foremost of the Vaishnavas and as Shankara, residing in Navadvip, is the foremost of the Vaishnavas, the most fortunate of all people. Advaitacharya is the chief amongst the gurus of knowledge, devotion, and renunciation. He especially teaches devotion to Krishna in the same way that Shankara did. Chaitanya Bhagavat 1 2 78 79. Advaita's appearance. Advaita appeared in the village of Navagram near the city of Silat as the son of the Varendra Brahmin Kuber Pandit and his wife Naba Devi on the seventh day of the waxing moon in the month of Magh. Kubera Pandit is identified in the Gaura Ganudesh Deepika with the original god Kubera, who was Mahadev's friend and leader of the Guyakas. Kubera Pandit, a devotee of Narsingha, resided in the village of Navagram near Silat in Bangladesh. He was a greatly fortunate follower of the path of devotion. He knew nothing other than the lotus feet of Krishna. His devoted and faithful wife was named Naba Devi. She is worshipable to the whole world, for she is the mother of Advaita Prabhu. That's from the Bhakti Ratnakar 5204, 2041 to 3. On the seventh day of the waxing moon in the month of Magh, which is today, the great ocean of joy overflowed in that auspicious moment. The moon of Advaita descended in the blessed womb of Nabadevi. In his ecstasy, Kubera Pandit gave in charity to the Brahmins and the poor. He tiptoed to the birthing room, and his heart was filled with gladness upon seeing his son's face. All the villagers came running to his house and said to each other, "What pious works did this Brahmin do, that in his old age he has been blessed with such a jewel of a son? The gods rain down flowers without being seen. There is nothing with which this scene can compare." Ganesham sings of this great auspicious occasion when a joyous uproar rang around the earth. That's also from the Bhakti Ratnakar. Bhavitrini?
In the Gaudiya Vaishnava Abhidhana, Advaita's birthplace is given as Lora Gram. It is also said there that Advaita Prabhu left Lora to go live in Silet, and then from there moved to Shantipur. He also had a home in Navadweep. His full name was Sri Kamalaksha or Kamalakanta Veda Panchanana. His birth took place in 1434 AD, and he disappeared in the year 1559 at the age of 125 years.
Wow.
I had no idea. Janavamata's Diksha disciple Nityananda Das wrote in his Prema Vilas that Advaita's birthplace is to be found in Shantipur. He writes that Advaita studied the Veda and other scriptures with the scholar Shantacharya, who lived in the Pulabhati section of Shantipur and earned from him the title Acharya. Advaita's life has been described in several Bengali books, including Advaita Mangala, Advaita Vilas, and Sita Charita. In the Advaita Vilas, it is written, "The Lord remained on this earth for a century and a quarter, performing unlimited pastimes."
So there's Advaitacharya's home in Shantipur. I had the great fortune to go there back in the 1980s, maybe in the 90s. I believe they celebrate the. Do they celebrate the No, the Panihati festivals celebrated in Panihati. But I know as part of the Parikram, we go to Advaitacharya's place in Shantipur, and they serve. I remember Jai Pataka Swami serving prasadam there. Have any of you been there?
Yes.
Yes, a long time ago. Actually, one time with ISKCON, but that was in 76.
We went there.
And then together in 86, the first time, and then we went back with the... it reminded me of a story about Prabhupada, that Srila Prabhupada, before he came to the West to start, he will go, I believe there's a temple inside, isn't there? And with Pujari, or in Shantipur, there's a Gaudiya Math temple. Prabhupada used to go there, and the Pujari noticed him, and Prabhupada would cry and just stay there for a long time and leave the last. And Prabhupada explained, can't remember in detail, but he was coming to get permission and encouragement from Sri Advaita Prabhu. And years went by, and
Didn't he speak? The Pujari spoke to Srila Prabhupada.
yeah, didn't he?
Yes,
Why don't you tell the story? You
I
probably
don't.
remember
You
better.
told it to me.
Yeah. So years went by, and devotees of ISKCON started to come by, and I forget, it's been so long.
Anyway, the Srila Prabhupada would go there and cry and cry. And I don't remember the conversation with the Pujari, but he said that he was going to take, this was where Advaita Acharya called for Lord Gauranga, and he was going to take the message and spread it all over the world, take it to the West. And then years went by, and devotees started coming to Shantipur from the West, and they gave this Pujari a picture of a BTG, and there was Srila Prabhupada, and he said, he made it. He did what he was going to say.
Dancing and jumping and joy. He said, he made it, he made it.
Amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
Haribol.
Haribol, Shangi.
Hare Krishna.
That's a great story. I love it.
Yeah.
Isn't Shantipur famous in some way? Isn't it connected to Lord Nityananda?
No, Kalna is connected, not too far from there.
But he had pastimes with Lord Nityananda in Shantipur.
Yeah, in Shantipur. Well, actually, yeah, because they had a plot. They didn't tell Lord Chaitanya, but he wanted to go to Vrindavan. And they all had planned, Mother Sachi wanted him to don't go too far and stay in Puri. But so they Lord Nityananda brought for 3 days. They were walking around. He was walking them around.
He thought they were going to Vrindavan.
He was asking. There was cowherd boys here, and they said, "Oh, we're near."
They told him the Ganges was the Jamuna,
and all that.
And he gets to Shantipur, and he says, "What are you doing here,
Advaita? You got here. What are you doing?"
You have to.
So, and then he brought it and said, "Well, you're sannyasa." He said, "Well, our fare is very simple. It's just like little wet sabji and and a little rice." He said, "But you must come to my house." But they made a feast. Like you come. Everybody came. Mother Sachi, all the Vaishnavas came, and so it became a festival for 7 days, 10 days, where they wouldn't let him go, and it was just prasadam that out of this world, really.
And Lord Chaitanya was complaining that you're giving me too much, and Lord Nityananda was complaining that there's hardly.
It's not enough. I'm starving. I was starving to death. What do you make me do?
What kind? He was insulting Advaita Chandra, and he was insulting him. That's when.
But it was all like a play.
When he threw the rice on Advaita Acharya. And he called him he called Advaita Acharya a Grihamidi, a fallen householder, and he called Nityananda a reject Paramahamsa. And then
said, "You don't even know your lineage, so now I'm ruined. My whole line, I'm Brahmin.
Because you came here.
You came here."
And then he threw some prasadam, and it hit Advaita Acharya's body. He became dancing in ecstasy. So that's the Shantipur.
When I first read that pastime as a young brahmachari, it was bewildering to me and amazing to me at the same time that the Supreme Lord.
Oh, you got tilak on too. Look at us.
Well, you whipped it real quick. Brahmachari.
Inspiring me to raise my standards here. Yeah, so what I wanted to do, because I remember that Mula Prakriti included the story that you two just shared. I remember that Mula Prakriti actually wrote that. She was the first to write the story, and here it is.
All right.
In 1980, the head priest from Sri Advaita Acharya's house in Shantipur, West Bengal, came to ISKCON's Chaitanya Chandrodaya Mandir in Mayapur, carrying with him a copy of the Back to Godhead article about Srila Prabhupada entitled A Lifetime in Preparation. The following is what he's reported to have said. Just recently, an amazing realization occurred to me that I want to share with devotees everywhere. I have been the pujari and sevait, priest and caretaker at the house of Advaita Acharya for many years. I was also there back in the 1940s and 50s. At that time, I noticed that one Grahasta, married gentleman, Bengali devotee, used to come to the temple quite regularly. He was dressed in a white khadi, dhoti, and kurta, and he always came alone. He would sit in the back of the mandir without speaking and would chant Harinam on his mala very quietly and deeply. I noticed that he came on the weekends, usually once every month or two, in a regular way. After chanting there for many hours, he would always thank me when he left. His presence was profound, and I became attracted to him. Since his devotions were solitary, I never spoke to disturb him. Sometimes I happened to notice that while he was chanting, his eyes would be full of tears and his voice would be choked up. Then, for a very long time, he did not come. However, I distinctly recall that in August of 1965, I saw a saffron clothed sannyasi, I mean, um, in the back of the mandir. In a moment, I recognized him to be my old friend from before. Again, he sat for a long time chanting Hare Krishna. I could see his beads moving, his eyes closed in concentrated devotion. He was weeping unabashedly, even more than he used to while he took the holy name. Finally, as evening came, he paid his dandavat, pranam, for a long time. When he rose, he came up to me and again thanked me for my seva here at Advaita Bhavan. I asked him, "Who are you? I remember you from so long ago." He replied, "My name is Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj. I am an unworthy disciple of His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada, my Divine Master. I've been coming here for such a long time because my Gurudev has given me an impossible mission. His desire was for me to go across the ocean to the Western countries and spread the sublime teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There are countless souls there who have never heard of Shri Shri Radhakrishna, and so they are suffering greatly. I have not known how this mission of His will be successful, so I have been coming here to the special house of Advaita Acharya, where he, Nityananda Prabhu, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would gather together to plan the Sankirtan, congregational chanting. It was here that they launched the inundation of love of God that swept India and continues to this day. Thus, I've been praying very earnestly here that they will give me their mercy and somehow they will empower me and guide me. I want to satisfy my Gurudev's desire, but I am feeling unqualified to do this. As he was speaking to me, I saw tears falling down on his cheeks again. Then he continued, "Tomorrow I am leaving for Calcutta to go upon a ship across the ocean to America. I do not know what will befall me there, and I am praying most earnestly here for help." Then he very humbly asked me for my blessings. I was indeed moved by this Vaishnav's sincerity and determination as I watched him depart upon his journey. It was a few years later that I began noticing for the first time white Vaishnavas coming to Advaita Bhavan. They were wearing dhotis and saris and chanting on Tulsi Mala. I never spoke to any of them, but then one of them gave me this Back to Godhead magazine from America. As I looked at the photographs, suddenly I recognized the painting of the founder Acharya, who had brought Krishna consciousness to the West. It was a picture of my friend Bhaktivedanta,
Haribol.
who had come and prayed here so many times before. Then I realized that he was actually accomplished, that he has actually accomplished that impossible mission of his Gurudev. I saw that it was indeed he, starting alone and without pretense, who had accomplished this glorious miracle against all odds. As soon as I saw this, I came here to this temple in Mayapur to tell you this information. I know that he has gone from this world now, but I thought perhaps you might want to know this story about your and my beloved Srila Prabhupada. An excerpt from the book Srila Prabhupada, A Friend to All by Mula Prakriti Devi Dasi.
Yeah,
Mola Prakriti ki jai.
Thank you for reminding me of that story. Yeah.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for reading this.
That's so kind of interesting to me, because I always made the assumption that Prabhupada was kind of left from Radha Damodar, and Vrindavan. I didn't realize that he made this pilgrimage, if you will, that he was in Mayapur area, and actually that he was at this spot the day before he left. That's what it says in that thing
He
there.
he
I
left
thought that Srila
Bengal.
Prabhupada left from Mumbai, but it sounded
No,
like it said he
No,
no,
no.
Bay of
From
Bengal.
the Bay of Bengal,
Okay.
Calcutta.
Okay.
Yeah, the Scindia liners.
Mm,
So even though Srimati Morarji was in
that makes sense.
Mumbai,
Mm,
her ship was leaving from Kolkata.
that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, the song in my coloring book by Tota Gopinath, he says, in the Bay of Bengal upon the Jaladuta.
Bay of Bengal.
Yeah.
Da-da-da-da.
So I remembered that he left
And
from
all
the
this
Bay of
stuff.
Bengal.
Ah, maybe you can sing that one at the end of the night.
I always, kind of thought it was Bombay. Yeah, amazing.
Okay, so let's go back to the glorification of Advaita.
Oh, Pradunya's back, I think.
Yes, I told him, Bhavatrini, you were looking for him.
Can I just say something?
Yes.
That was the most ecstatic prayer, to read today on Advaita Prabhu's appearance day.
Oh,
That's like perfect,
yes,
synchronistic.
perfect.
We are so
Yeah.
blessed. That is so
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah,
It
Prabhupada
is.
came to
Thank
us.
you for
Thank you.
bringing that up, Gora, and everybody. Woohoo.
That's the value of association. I was inspired by Nirhari and Bhavatrini, and so then I went and tried to dig a bit, and now you're also appreciating. Are you going to be able to
Prabhu
read,
Rahus.
Rasangi? Rasangi, will you be able to read? Or are you moving around? Rasangi? Hello?
I guess that's your answer.
Pradyumna's back.
I'm walking. I'm taking my
Yeah.
constitutional,
Okay.
but I'm going to listen, okay?
You can
Okay.
walk
Very
for me too. I was supposed to do that, but I just declined to walk in 20 below zero weather.
Reminds you of our Sankirtan days in Maine.
Yes.
Right next
Yes. Okay, so let's see. So I just read a big chunk. So Bhavatrini in your hurry, if you'd like to continue a page.
What about
What about
Pradyumna and
Pradyumna
Nahush?
Nahush? Is here.
Pradyumna is not read. Okay, yes. And the Hush.
Pradyumna's expanding his ears, and probably not going to use his mouth for now because I have
Okay.
things I got to attend to. But I just wanted to share my realization about Advaita Charya from remembering Chaitanya Charitamrita, that he was very, very dear to Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya would sing in ecstasy, Nara, my dear Nara. Not only that, but he's explaining that anyone who accepts me but does not accept my Nara, he does not get me. I do not give my mercy. So we can understand one who doesn't accept Shiva but tries to go to Krishna, but disrespecting Shiva will not get Lord Krishna's mercy.
Right.
And their relationship is loving and ecstatic. And just remembering that brings me back into Chaitanya Lila. And I'm sure it's the same for all of you, but I just wanted to share my appreciation for that. And also that we cannot just ignore Shiva and think, we need to show respect to everybody. And especially, in this case, he's giving specific instruction. So I thought that was interesting meditation.
Thank you. Our god brother, you're reminding me, our god brother Ramanath Sukha Prabhu, who serves in the UK, he
All the chai.
So
Go ahead.
Ramanath Sukha Prabhu, he has great appreciation for Lord Shiva, and as we know in Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's Gaudiya Kantahar, and also in Jaiva Dharma, there's a whole section which is Shiva Tattva. So it's definitely an important part of our Shastric study. So his idea was, and I've done this myself back in the day when I used to give talks in the temples, to use Shiva Ratri as a day to glorify Lord Shiva. And even though it says in the Krishna book that generally, it's not necessarily the habit of Vaishnavas to celebrate Shiva Ratri, at least not in the mood of the Shaivites who worship him as God. Um, but on this particular occasion, the residents of Vrindavan did. They did. So on the basis of that, he's trying to get the devotees at Bhaktivedanta Manor to glorify Lord Shiva on Shivaratri, which to me makes complete sense because I remember all the home programs I used to do, and I used to take my harmonium and go to the Patels and the whoever um, with the temple devotees. Lord Shiva is the central deity for them, or they would even equate Lord Shiva with that of Rama and Krishna. And so I could understand that many of them didn't have the proper Siddhanta. They didn't have quite because we know that Lord Shiva is not a demigod. He's not 77% of Krishna like Brahma is. And he's not Lord Vishnu, who has 96% of the qualities, but I believe he has something like 84% of the qualities of Lord Krishna. So anyway, I empathize with him. He said the best he can do is to have a round table discussion with several temple council members about whether or not to do Shivaratri next year. But I'm saying, no, it's Shivaratri now. You should find your peeps, and get together and glorify Lord Shiva on Shivaratri. Because the argument is, well, Prabhupada never celebrated Shivaratri, so, why should we glorify Lord Shiva on Shivaratri? So they're going to have a whole big discussion.
Because Lord Chaitanya glorified his Nara. That's why we should.
Now,
To me,
But Prabhupada never did it. Prabhupada never did it.
But he
he said
Advaita
in
is
Krishna book we were reading that.
Yeah.
Now, Advaita is a combination of Mahavishnu and Sadashiva.
exactly.
Yeah.
and there's Hari Haraya. But
Right.
if you see him as the topmost Vaishnava, we always celebrate the appearance and disappearance
Of great
of
Vaishnavas.
great Vaishnavas.
So
So
we have to.
no harm.
Or as Prabhupada would say, what is the difficulty?
Right.
But
Yes.
then we're not in charge of a big movement, so we'll let them fight it out.
And we'll just glorify Lord Shiva.
Yes.
To our heart's content.
Nara, Jai.
I want to add a point to that, and
Sure.
when learning from Lord Shiva in the sense how Lord Shiva conquers his false ego, and wears his false ego around his neck as an ornament, and how, especially devotees that are practicing in the early stages of Krishna consciousness, how they can learn to put like a body, like an armor in front of them when they go out into the material world to do work, business, and interact with non-devotees, so that they have like a persona that they can, embody while they're interacting with everybody else, and then while they're developing Krishna consciousness within, with the Sangha of devotees and really, chanting and everything. But to be that vulnerable in front of non-devotees, like New York City or something, if you're very vulnerable and soft-hearted, you can probably get swayed too many directions.
Don't
You'll be
step over your head.
gone. So yeah, I like according to time, place, circumstance, but also recognizing Lord Shiva is giving us an example on how to, if you see it from that way. I don't know. They're not.
What is he wearing around his neck?
I think it's a snake.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
he has a snake.
Yeah, he has
around.
a snake around his
But
neck.
it's like it's his false ego that he conquered, and he's wearing it around his neck as an
Oh, I
ornament.
And
didn't
he's
know
so
that.
merciful. Imagine he's taking,
Yeah.
there is a nice little booklet Narayana Maharaj wrote, and
Shiva
it's
Tattva.
Shiva Tattva. That's really recommended to. And Narada Muni was looking for the highest devotee.
That's in the Rehab Bhagavatamrita.
But it's in this
Yeah,
booklet.
it's in the little booklet. Yeah.
And so he does a very thankless tasks, and one of them is he's so merciful. He drinks the poison out of that churning of the ocean, and that's what is called Nilakanta, and he keeps it on his throat, like that. Another thing that I just learned recently is that by Sridhar Maharaj, Swarup Sridhar Maharaj, or Siddhanti Maharaj, that Lord Shiva, when Krishna is about to drink the milk from Putana, Lord Shiva comes, actually, he's the one that takes the poison.
Hmm.
Lord Shiva takes the poison from Putin.
Yes.
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 Wow, that's amazing. So it's to
Where is
protect
that? Where is
Krishna.
that stated?
I have to ask Siddhanti Maharaj. I'm sure it's in one of the books by either Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur or the
That's very
Goswami.
interesting. It's the first time I've heard that in my life. I'd love
First
to.
time, me too.
We hear a
48,
lot of first time
50
things from
years.
Siddhanti Maharaj, but anything you ask him, he can back it up with
Yeah, he's
quotes.
Can you
amazing.
send me a link so I could hear one of his classes, please?
Yeah, he's in Facebook. Oh, you can be on Facebook.
No.
Anyway. But can you access Facebook or?
I bet they go on YouTube because they're recorded.
Yeah, maybe you'll
I
find the
might
recording
be on YouTube, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Siddhanti Maharaj. That's all I have to look up.
Siddhanti Maharaj. He's a disciple of Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj, and he
Oh.
took sannyas from Sivanarayan Maharaj, and he went to Gurukula with Gopavrinda Paul's son, Shravan Kumar, who lives here and has a temple. And so it's really wonderful. You see their relationship, and their, man, wow, talking about like they know so much. I mean, it's wonderful to see, and they recite Bengali and
Thank
Hindi.
you.
So
Nahush Prabhu, would you like to read? You're the only one that hasn't read besides Pradyumna, but he's busy with his family.
Yeah, I can read. I was just under Super Prasad. Yep,
We have a lot to cover on Advaita.
sure. Advaita Prabhu's travels. When Kubera Pandit and Nava Devi disappeared, Advaita went to Gaya on the pretext of performing the appropriate rituals of mourning, and thence continued on a pilgrimage tour of all of India's holy places. When he came to Vrindavan, he became absorbed in the worship of Krishna, but through his meditation he was able to understand that Krishna was about to appear at Navadvip. While on his pilgrimage tour, he came to Mithila, where he met the poet Vidyapati. This encounter is beautifully described in the Advaita Vilasa. Advaita Prabhu finally returned from Vrindavan to Shantipur after spending several days in Navadvip. The people of Shantipur had been suffering from his separation for a long time and were very happy to see him back. Advaita had two wives. One was named Shri and the other Sita. In the Gora Gandodesha Deepika, it is written that the divine Yogamaya took the form of Advaita's wife Sita, and that Shri is their Prakash expansion. Gora Gandodesha Deepika, page 86. Advaita Acharya also had two residences, one in Shantipur, the other not far from Srivasa's home in Navadvip, Mayapur. His heart was greatly pained at seeing that the people of the world were devoid of devotion to Vishnu and were, as a consequence, greatly suffering the pains of material life. Overwhelmed with compassion, he began to teach the Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavad, explaining that the purport of the scriptures was to engage in devotional service to Krishna. At about the same time, Madhavendra Puri had a dream in which Govardhandhari Gopal commanded him to find sandalwood paste for the deity's service. Madhavendra then started out for Puri, taking the road through West Bengal. While there, he stopped at Advaita's house in Shantipur. Advaita became convinced to accept Madhavendra Puri as his guru when he saw his devotional ecstasies, even though he himself is an expansion of the Supreme Lord. He underwent this ritual in order to demonstrate to the conditioned souls that the necessity of accepting a spiritual master.
Madhavendra Puri arrived in the house of Advaita Acharya when Advaita saw Puripad's prem. He felt a deep inner joy, so he took care to receive the mantra from him, after which Madhavendra left to continue his voyage to the south. It is said that Mahaprabhu is the main trunk of the wish-fulfilling tree of devotion, as well as the gardener who enjoys and distributes the tree's fruits. Though the tree was planted in Navadvip grew in Purushottam Dham, Puri, and Vrindavan, expanding into an entire orchard, producing many, many fruits of love. Madhavendra Puri is said to be the first seedling which eventually grew into this tree. Ishvara Puri was the nourished form of the seedling. Mahaprabhu, though himself the gardener, also became the tree's main trunk through his inconceivable energies. Advaita and Nityananda were two secondary trunks into which the main trunk divided. Chaitanya Charitamrita 1921. Bhavatrini Nirhari Prabhus.
Sannyasis.
Forget Brahma Tirtha.
Oh, the cause of the Lord's incarnation. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the main body of the devotional movement, and Advaita and Nityananda are the limbs. All three of them became incarnate, along with Srivas and other devotees, in order to preach devotion to Hari. All those who were senior to Gauranga appeared on this earth prior to him. Advaita appeared along with the other elderly members of Chaitanya's retinue, and when he did so, he observed that the sinfulness of the age of Kali had reached a disturbing limit, and that the world was entirely devoid of devotion to Krishna. He thought that a partial incarnation of the Lord would not be sufficient to completely bring about the welfare of the earth in this state.
Wow.
He thought, the world will only benefit if the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself descends to the earth. So he began to worship Krishna's lotus feet with Ganges water and tulsi leaves, shouting and pleading to the Lord to become incarnate. With roars of love, Premahunkara, Advaita showed his desire for the Lord of Goloka to descend to the earth. He constantly offered water from the Ganges and Tulsi Manjaris while meditating on Krishna's lotus feet, at the same time calling to Krishna with loud roars. This is the way that he caused Krishna to descend. This, then, is the chief reason that Krishna Chaitanya became incarnate on this earth. He who is the bridge of justice descends at the wish of the devotee. Chaitanya Charitamrita 13107 through 9.
I'm just meditating on this last sentence. He who is the bridge of justice. So is it referring to Advaita Acharya as being the bridge of justice or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu?
I think it's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Are we on?
Yes.
Because it says the sense at the wish of the devotee, and actually Advaita Acharya is a devotee of the Lord.
Yada yada hi dharmasya.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Nirhari Prabhu?
Okay. It's like condensed milk, nectar.
Oh.
Advaita Acharya's. I was your turn, wasn't it?
No, your turn. I just finished.
Oh yeah. Sorry. I'm just like wow. Advaita Acharya dwelt in Shantipur. His body is the reservoir of devotional nectar, and is not different from that of Chaitanya. Chaitanya, whose spotless fame has filled the earth, was brought down to this earth by him. That should be capital word. My Advaita is not different from Gauranga, and his wife Sita is the mother of the universe. His roars brought Gauranga into this world, and then he glorified him everywhere. Bhakti Ratnakara 12.3.7.5.3.6. All glories to Advaita Acharya, the most merciful, whose roars brought about Gauranga's incarnation. Whoever takes shelter of his lotus feet will obtain the great prize of love for Gaura. Bhakti Ratnakara 12.3.37.61.37.64. He constantly served Krishna with great enthusiasm, offering Ganges water and tulsi manjaris. Absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, he worshipped him by roaring his name, the sound of which filled the entire universe, reaching up to Vaikuntha. Lord Krishna heard the sound of these roars of love and made himself visible to humanity, for he is controlled by his devotee. Chaitanya Bhagavat 1.2.81.3. Prior to Mahaprabhu's, I stopped there?
No, just finish. Go just a little further.
To the end of the paragraph.
Maybe the end of the paragraph.
Last paragraph.
Okay, prior to
Prior to
Mahaprabhu's
Mahaprabhu's appearance.
Prior to Mahaprabhu's appearance, Nityananda Prabhu also descended on the 13th day of the waxing moon in the month of Magh into the family of Harai Pandit and
It's supposed to
Padmavati.
be Hadai. It's supposed to be
Yeah,
Hadai.
that's what I'd hesitated. There's
Oh
a
yeah,
little typo there.
Hadai.
Harry
The
all.
village of Eka Chakra and Raha,
Rar.
bestowing upon
Radha.
them then the opportunity to serve him in the Vatsalya Ras.
Excuse me, is
Meanwhile,
that correct? Eka Chakra in Rarha? Is that correct?
We
I thought
don't
it was
know.
no,
Okay.
yeah, I don't. I never. I thought it was Ratna, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
But we visited that home. It's still there. Oh my God, the atmosphere. You gotta go. Everybody should go see. And by his
It's
mercy on the
it's a little off
Nityananda.
topic, but there was a blind Vaishnava Kirtaniya, gorgeous, beautiful voice, he was a great devotee of Lord Nityananda, and he was born in Vrindavan, and he walked to Ekachakra to sing to the deities there, to Lord Nityananda, and he lives there now.
And Lord Nityananda entered those deities. Actually, disappeared that way. So Ekatara bestowing upon them the opportunity to serve him in Vatsalya Ras. Meanwhile, 8 daughters were born to Jagannath Mishra and Sachi Devi, all of whom died before their son, Vishwarupa. Nityananda Prabhu's other self took birth. Consequently, on the full moon evening, subsequently, on the full moon evening of the month of Falgun, the source of all avatars, Gaurachandra, made his appearance. After the appearance of Sri Chaitanya, Sita Devi took Advaita's permission to come with gifts to Navadvip from Shantipur to see the most wonderful child.
Nandapatni.
Oh, there's another
There was
sentence.
a little
When
sentence.
she saw him.
When she saw him, she blessed him by placing unhusked rice and durva grass on his head.
Advaita Acharya's wife was a respectable and noble woman named Sita Thakurani. Taking permission from her husband, she went to Navadvip bearing gifts to see the crown jewel of infants, Chaitanya Charitamrita. Advaita Acharya established a toll, is that right, for teaching Sanskrit in Navadvip, Mayapur, and started to engage a school. It must be a school.
Sorry.
For
No, Ptolemy school.
Toll?
Bengali.
What does that mean?
That's the Bengali word for school.
Ah, gotcha.
Kula or toll.
Okay, and started to engage in a deep study of the scriptures. Every day, Mahaprabhu's older brother Vishwarupa used to go to Advaita's house after bathing in the Ganges to listen to him lecture. On certain occasions, when Advaita was engaged in performing his puja, Vishwarupa would explain to everyone present there that devotion to Krishna was the ultimate purport of all these scriptures. When Advaita heard him speaking in this way, he got up from worshipping his deity and embraced him. Sachi regularly sent little Nimai at lunchtime with something for Vishwarupa to eat. When Advaita Prabhu saw Nimai's beautiful face, he became enchanted, but was unable to recognize him as his worshipable Lord, the Supreme Truth.
Looks like I don't think Pradyumna is there, or if he is, he's maybe busy. So Nahush, Prabhu. Nahush, are you there?
Well,
In the meantime, Vishwarup had secretly decided that he would renounce family life out of a realization that the material world is temporary and that a human being's only real duty is to worship the Lord. When he saw that his parents were starting to make wedding plans for him, he quickly left home and took sannyas, after which he was known by the name Shankararanya. Sachi Jagannath and other devotees all lamented his loss. Advaita too was pained by Vishwarup's departure, but pacified everyone by saying that Krishna himself would appear soon to eradicate everyone's distress. After Vishwarup's abandonment of the hearth, Sachi and Jagannath became afraid that Nimai would follow his example, and so they put a stop to his education. Later, however, when they heard Nimai speaking sweetly in the mood of Dattatreya, they decided it would be better to send him back to school. Jagannath Mishra left this world not long after Nimai was given the sacred thread and had become fully absorbed in his studies, while Mahaprabhu was still fully devoted to his pastimes as a scholar. His marriage to Ballabha's daughter, Lakshmi Priya, was arranged. In those days, Advaita was holding Bhagavat lectures and kirtan at his house in Navadvip. All the devotees, including Advaita, were very enthused about the singer Mukunda Datt's voice. On one occasion, Ishwarapuri came to Advaita's house while on a visit to Navadvip. From his vigorous appearance, Advaita was able to recognize that he was a Vaishnav sannyasi. Later, Gauranga also met him. Looks like, okay, go ahead, Nirhari.
At, at that time, Ishwarapuri arrived in Navadvip in a most discreet manner, constantly preoccupied with the taste of Krishna devotion. He was single-minded, dear to Krishna, and compassionate. No one was able to recognize him because he was not dressed as a sannyasi, until one day, by chance, he arrived at Advaita's house, Chaitanya Bhagavat 1:11, 70 through 72. Advaita tests Mahaprabhu. When Gauranga returned from Gaya in a changed mood, Advaita, Srinivas, and the other devotees were overjoyed. In due course, Nityananda Prabhu arrived in Navadvip after having toured the sacred pilgrimage sites, and there he met Nimai. One day at Srivas's house, Mahaprabhu indicated that he wanted to perform the Vyasa Puja to Nityananda. On the eve of this puja, Mahaprabhu showed everyone that Nityananda was Baladev, and then repeating the words Nariya, Nariya, revealed that Advaita had caused him to descend to the earth by calling him.
As it was a Nariya.
Nariya, Nariya?
Yeah.
It is due to Advaita that I have become incarnate, for Nariya's roars rang in my ears. I was lying in the milk ocean, but Nariya's roar woke me up and brought me down here. Chaitanya Bhagavat 3:9, 297 through 8.
Nandapatni.
That's a little confusing to me because Advaita is Mahavishnu, right?
Right.
It's like a kaleidoscope, it's like everything kaleidoscopes into it.
Yeah. I was thinking the same thing. Is wait a minute, that's Vishnu, and he calls for Krishna, who is the source of all those incarnations. So it's interesting to me.
They're just doing this to confuse me.
Yeah. Yes. After the Vyasa Puja had come to an end, Mahaprabhu took on the mood of the Supreme Lord and sent Ramai Pandit, Srivas Pandit's brother, to fetch Advaita from his house in Shantipur by telling him of the Lord's divine manifestation. Advaita Prabhu has brought Hari, the Lord of Goloka, to this earth by his cries and by worshipping him with Ganges water and Tulsi. Nityananda Prabhu has also made his auspicious appearance in Navadvip. So, Advaita Acharya and his wife should come immediately to Srivas Angam, bringing all the paraphernalia for worship with him. Ramai immediately carried out Mahaprabhu's order and took his message to Advaita Prabhu. As soon as Advaita heard that Mahaprabhu had publicly revealed his divine identity, he and Sita Devi immediately set off, bringing their son, Achyutananda, and some other associates. But rather than going directly to Srivasa's house, Advaita decided to test Mahaprabhu by hiding in Nandanacharya's house. He told Ramai not to tell Mahaprabhu, but the Lord, who knows the heart of all, was able to see through Advaita's plan. As Mahaprabhu sat on the altar and revealed his own deity to everyone, Nityananda held the royal parasol while Gadadhar and the other devotees in a variety of services. This time, when Mahaprabhu sent Ramai to Nandanacharya's house to fetch Advaita, Advaita realized that Mahaprabhu was omniscient and hesitated no longer.
Are you able to read Pradyumna Prabhu? No? Okay.
This mic's off.
Nahush Prabhu, are you available to read Nahush?
I'd like to take a little bit of
I
a
guess
break.
not. And are you breaking still or are you reading?
No, I'm gonna break for a little bit. Just
Okay.
really-
And Rasangi, I imagine you're still on the walk? I can't tell. All right. In the company of his wife, he joyfully prostrated himself before the Lord, speechless before the manifestation of the Lord's divine power. He washed the Lord's lotus feet and then worshipped him with the 5 ingredients, Panchopachara, using the following mantra to do so. Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. I pay my obeisances to Krishna Govinda, the Lord of the Brahminical Society, to him who is the source of the cows and the Brahmins' welfare, and who is the source of the entire universe's well-being. Mahaprabhu then commanded Advaita Prabhu to get up and dance. Advaita started to dance madly until he was completely intoxicated in a way that astonished all the watching devotees. So he'd been waiting 4,500 years to dance. Krishnadas Kaviraj has written, since the Rasa Leela, right? He was told by the Lord that you'll get a chance to dance.
Right.
Right.
But what's that for them? A blink of an eye?
A chance to dance. That'd be a great title for an article on Advaita Acharya.
Oh, yeah.
Chance to dance.
Yeah.
Okay. Krishnadas Kaviraj has written, there is one Mahaprabhu, or Supreme Lord, and 2 other Prabhus, or Lords. The 2 other Prabhus serve the lotus feet of Mahaprabhu. These 3 personalities belong to the category of the all-worshipable. The 4th category is the devotee who is the worshipper. Srivas and the millions of other devotees belong to the category of the pure devotees. Gadadhar Pandit and others are considered to be incarnations of the Lord's energies or Shaktis. They are counted as his intimate devotees, Chaitanya Charitamrita 1794 to 7. And Bhakti or Nirhari.
These are the Panchatattva, who include Gauranga Mahaprabhu, the form of a devotee, Nityananda Prabhu, who is the Bhakta Swarup, and Advaita Acharya, the incarnation of the devotee. These 3 are considered to be Prabhu Tattva or Vishnu Tattva, the category of the Lord. Advaita is an incarnation of Mahavishnu. He belongs to the category of Vishnu Tattva, but because he took on the mood of a devotee, so he is called Bhakta Avatar, the incarnation of a devotee. Because Gauranga, Nityananda, and Advaita all belong to the category of Vishnu Tattva, tulsi leaves are offered to their feet. Without Advaita's mercy, one can never attain the service of Chaitanya and Nityananda. Dayo Koro Sitapati Advaita Goshani. Be merciful, Advaita Prabhu, husband of Sita. On the strength of your mercy, I will attain Chaitanya and Nitai. Narottam Das. Thakur.
Wow. Vidyapati, that was mentioned before, it was one of the poets that Lord Chaitanya used to hear recitations, of his work. So it's my turn?
Yeah.
Okay. Advaita and Hari Das Thakur. By his pastimes, Advaita Prabhu revealed that a Vaishnava is praiseworthy and
I
worthy
didn't
of.
read
Oh, you
this.
read that. Advaita Acharya, sorry. Advaita Acharya's glories and his activities have been described extensively in Krishna Das's Kaviraja's Chaitanya Charitamrita, Vrindavan Das's Chaitanya Bhagavat, Narahari Chakravarti's Bhakti Ratnakara, as well as in works such as Advaita Vilas, etc. Those who wish to have a deep knowledge of his life should consult these books. We can only give an abbreviated biography of this book, and such as an extensive account cannot be given here. We have only set out to remember the main pastimes Advaita engaged in. Advaita Haridas Thakur.
I think you're supposed to read.
I'm supposed to keep reading until.
Yeah,
Yeah,
carry on.
it's a full
Okay.
screen.
Yes. By his pastimes, Advaita Prabhu revealed that a Vaishnava is praiseworthy, worthy of worship, no matter what his family background. Namacharya Haridas Thakur was born in a Muslim family in Burihan village in the district of Jeshore, but later came to live in the village of Pulia near Shantipur, where he would come to associate with Advaita Prabhu. He was staying in a grotto where he was engaged in solitary devotional practices. This was after he had spent time preaching the glories of the holy names at the Chandpur house of Raghunath Das Goswami's father and uncle, Govardhan and Hiranyaman Majamundar. Advaita used to invite Haridas to come to his house in Shantipur to take prasad. This made Haridas Thakur feel somewhat uneasy. However, Advaita Prabhu, the teacher of the people, claimed that his behavior was in conformity with all the scriptures. To feed a great devotee like Haridas is equal to the feeding of millions of Brahmins. In order to demonstrate this, he honored Haridas by giving him the plate offered in the Shraddha ceremony, Shraddha Pratra. On the annual date set aside for offering oblations to the forefathers, a householder Vaishnava offers all kinds of foodstuffs to the Lord and then invites.
I don't know what happened.
He muted himself.
You muted yourselves. I don't even see them. They didn't just mute, they disappeared completely.
Oh,
Connection.
Okay, where were we? Um,
the little one said roll over.
excuse me?
Oh, nothing, nothing, nothing.
This was after he had spent time preaching the glories of the holy names at the Chandpur house of Raghunath Das Goswami's father and uncle, Govardhan and Hiranya Majumdar. Advaita used to invite Haridas to come to his house in Shantipur to take prasad. This made Haridas Thakur feel somewhat uneasy. However, I'm wondering, why would it make Haridas Thakur feel uneasy to be invited to come and take prasadam? I'm not sure. However, Advaita Prabhu, the teacher of the people,
Can I answer that?
yeah, go ahead.
Because he felt unworthy to eat in the house of these sadhus.
Because of coming from a Muslim family, perhaps.
Exactly.
Uh-huh. Thank you. However, Advaita Prabhu, the teacher of the people, claimed that his behavior, oh, you're coming back again. Are they?
Haribol.
Sorry,
Are you back again?
Yes,
Yes,
yeah.
our computer was
continue-
unplugged.
Yeah.
You can, I
So we
understand. Can you
were-
continue, Dear Hari, from this made Haridas Thakur feel somewhat uneasy
Where's the?
in the middle of the paragraph.
This made Haridas Thakur feel somewhat uneasy. However, Advaita Prabhu, the teacher of people, claimed that his behavior was in conformity with all the scriptures. For to feed a great devotee like Haridas is equal to feeding of millions of Brahmins. In order to demonstrate, we read this. In order to demonstrate this, he honored Haridas by giving him the plate offered in the Shara ceremony. On the annual day set aside for offering oblations to the forefathers, a householder Vaishnava offers all kinds of foodstuffs to the Lord and then invites Brahmins and Vaishnavas to take prasad. The Mahaprasad is given to the guest of honor, and Advaita Prabhu chose Haridas for this special treatment.
Advaita said, Please don't be afraid. I shall only do what is accepted in Scripture. If you eat, it is as though 10 million Brahmins had eaten. After saying these words, he gave him the Shraddha plate to eat. Chaitanya Charitamrita 3.3, 219 to 20. One of the branches of the Chaitanya tree is Haridas Thakur, whose activities are amazing. He would unfailingly chant 300,000 names of the Lord every day. I only give an indication here of his unlimited virtues. Advaita Acharya honored him by giving him the Shraddha plate. The sons of Advaita. Although 6 sons were born to Advaita Acharya, the incarnation of Mahavishnu, he indicated that some of them had understood the essence of spiritual life and some had not. Those who simply claimed to be his followers but showed no affection for Gauranga were the latter. Those who were attached to Mahaprabhu in ever-increasing affection were the former. These included Achyutananda, Sri Krishna Mishra, and Gopal Mishra, while Balaram, Sarup, and Jagadish belonged to the category of those who did not recognize Chaitanya. Achyutananda was the oldest brother, and Sri Krishna Mishra and Gopal Mishra followed his lead. The Chaitanya Charitamrita compares the two groups to the wheat and chaff. In the order now of reading, you're next, Nandapatni. What happened? Oh, where did that go? Now I'm having the same problems here. The whole page just disappeared.
Mm.
How can I get that back?
If you go to forward
Is
or
this the
back,
page? Well, I'm not sure if this is the page or not.
if you go
I think
click on the
so.
back button, it might get you to where you need to be.
Well, I'm on that page now, I thought. If I go on the
Okay.
back button, I don't know what's going to happen.
Okay.
Where were we? Can anyone help me, please?
A little bit further. The sons of Advaita.
Yeah, you're about there.
Your turn, Nandapatni.
Yeah. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati also writes in his Gaudiya Bhashya to the Chaitanya Bhagavat, if someone takes Advaita Acharya to be the best of all the Vaishnavas, then he can be called a Vaishnava. On the other hand, if someone considers him to be the object of all religious life, the Vishaya Krishna, and Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be his devotee or Ashraya, then he'll never be able to attain Krishna's lotus feet. The Lord punishes Advaita. It's also said that Mahaprabhu taught Advaita the real meaning of the Bhagavad Gita. Vishwambara explained the true understanding of the Gita to Advaita. He hid the gates which held back the understanding of bhakti. Chaitanya Bhagavat. Another wonderful pastime was prepared by Advaita in order to show the fallen jivas how auspicious it is to receive punishment from the Lord or from the Guru or the Vaishnava. How fortunate is a devotee who is chastised by his Guru. This is described in the 17th chapter of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, about which Bhaktivinoda Thakur has made the following comments in his Amrita Pravaha Bhasya. Advaita Acharya is the godbrother of Mahaprabhu's Guru, Ishvarapuri. For this reason, Mahaprabhu treated Advaita as his elder and spiritual master, even though Advaita considered himself to be Mahaprabhu's servant. Advaita was pained to see Mahaprabhu treat him with such respect, and so in order to seek out the merciful punishment of the Lord, in order to seek out the merciful punishment of the Lord, returned to Shantipur and began to explain the path of knowledge to a few unfortunate individuals.
Imagine God telling Maya about
With a small u. When the Lord caught wind of this, he became extremely angry and went to Shantipur to give him a good thrashing. Goodness. When he was thrashed in this way, Advaita danced for joy, saying, look, my desires have been fulfilled today. Mahaprabhu was previously miserly with me, treating me as his respectful elder. Now he has acted toward me as though I were his servant or disciple, by trying to save me from the heresy of Mayavad. When the Lord understood that this had all been a ruse on Advaita's part. He was embarrassed but pleased with the Lord's mercy. Sadashiva plays two different roles in Vraj. Not quite sure what that is. He is Shiva himself, and in the other, he is a cowherd boy.
This is a wonderful example of how to see chastisement also as the mercy of the Lord. I mean, Advaita Acharya is showing so much gratitude, and I know when I've been chastised, it's a little hard to take because of my false ego.
But then there is Jagadananda gets chastised by, remember the episode with Sanatana Goswami having the boils, and Lord Chaitanya is always embracing him. He's thinking of committing suicide or leaving.
Mhm.
And so he tells the story he tells the whole thing to Jagadananda Pandit, and Jagadananda Pandit said, well, you know, Lord, the Lord has given you all your family Vrindavan, so maybe it's a good idea, you know, after Rath Yatra, you should just go back there. But when Lord Chaitanya heard about this, he was furious. He was chastising Jagadananda. So Sanatana Goswami says, now I see how intimate, you know, your relationship is with Jagadananda, which you haven't shown me that, you know. And Lord Chaitanya says, no, Sanatana, I love you as much, and it's just that your other qualities are so exalted that I could not. You're so scholarly as such a senior Vaishnava. You can teach me, Lord Chaitanya said. But that punishment, that chastisement, is indicative of intimacy.
Right. Rasangi, you're back. Are you able to read? We haven't heard anything from you tonight. I guess not. Okay.
Now I'm driving.
Okay. Pradyumna, are you able to read? No. Okay. The Lord treated Advaita with the respect deserved by a guru. This caused the Acharya great distress, so he adopted a ruse of teaching the path of knowledge. Did you just read that part? Or
Yeah.
did you?
Yes.
Yes.
So what did you not read? I guess the next part.
Well, I think it's a slight recap, actually. That
Yes,
paragraph.
yes, it
Yeah.
is. It is.
You're right.
Yeah.
Mahaprabhu became angry and scorned Advaita, causing him great bliss. When he saw this satisfaction with the turn of events, the Lord became ashamed and was merciful to him. Chaitanya Charitamrita. Previously, Mahaprabhu would honor me. This made me unhappy. So I thought that if I start giving lectures on the Yoga Vashishta, explaining mukti as the supreme goal of life, the Lord would become angry and insult me. So he did it on purpose, just to rile
Yeah,
up.
I think it's so interesting, if I can interject for a second,
Yes.
because it really speaks to this thread of, you know, Trinadupi, that you know, it's something that a Vaishnava has to learn, that they really, really don't want any respect. You know,
But he
And
wanted
also
chastisement.
etiquette, because Lord Chaitanya treats him as, you know, elder. I mean, so society was very correct in his treatment of Advaita.
I remember as a young brahmachari, even though he's younger than me by a year or two, he joined Krishna consciousness in '73, I think, a couple years before me. Plus, he's more spiritually advanced on top of that. Anyway, Lakshminath was one of my brahmachari trainers back in '77, I guess '76, '77. And he would get on my case about different things at different times. And then he said to me one time, you should understand, if a devotee is willing to go out of his way to get on your case because, you know, you didn't do this or you should have done that, then that's a sign that, you know, someone cares about you. But he said, when a devotee is no longer willing to help you anymore and just ignores you, then you know you're in deep trouble because they realize you're a hopeless case and there's no, you know, there's no reason to try to help you anymore because you're too puffed up or you just don't get it. And that helped me to have a little better attitude towards being corrected. Okay, so are you able to read now, Pradyumna, or you can't because of the kids?
I don't know, so,
What do I should read?
Sachi Devi and Advaita?
Oh, he's against the best
So
friend.
because Advaita Prabhu is very emotional about the condition of fallen souls, Mahaprabhu could not forgive even his mother when she looked askance at him. On one occasion, through chastising her, he warned all devotees of the danger of offenses to the Vaishnavas. If Sachi, who is the essence of motherly affection, the incarnation of Yashoda Devi, cannot be forgiven an offense to the Vaishnava, then what chance do others have? By the same Leela, Chaitanya also showed that in order to become free of Vaishnava aparad, one should beg for forgiveness from the Vaishnava one has offended. When Vishvarupa, came to the conclusion, after studying with Advaita Prabhu, that the world is a temporary place and the only real duty of humankind is to worship the Supreme Lord, he left his home and took sannyas. Subsequently, on the full moon evening of the month of Falgun, the source of all avatars, Gaur Chandra, made his appearance. Lord Chaitanya also used to visit Sita Devi and Advaita Charya. Sachimata, though troubled by his departure, was wary of insulting Advaita for the role he had played in it, knowing him to be a Vaishnava, and took consolation in Nimai's presence at home. But when she saw that Nimai too was going constantly to associate with Advaita, leaving his wife Lakshmi Priya alone at home, she began to think that Advaita's name was really unsuitable. That rather than unifying people, as it would indicate, he split them apart. Advaita would thus be a more appropriate name. This old Gosai goes by the name Advaita, but he should be called Dvaita. O son of mine, as beautiful as the moon, has left the home because of him, and he hasn't let me keep the other one settled. No one has mercy on me, who am now without anyone in this world. He may be one Advaita in the world, but I see him as Maya, Dvaita.
Baba Trini in your heart.
Because of her affection for her son, Sachi mentally criticized Advaita in this way, and no one knew except for her son, Gaur Hari, who is the indweller of all beings. On the day of the Mahaprakasha in the house of Srivas, when Mahaprabhu was fulfilling the desires of every one of his devotees by allowing them to see his divine form for 21 hours, Srivas asked him whether Sachi Mata see his form at the house while on a visit to Navadvip. From his vigorous appearance, Advaita was able to recognize that he was a Vaishnava sannyasi. Later, Gauranga also met him. Devi could also be blessed with this divine vision. Mahaprabhu answered, "My mother has committed an offense against Advaita Prabhu, so I will not show her this form." When the devotees told Sachi what her son had said, she immediately went to Advaita and begged him for forgiveness. After Advaita heard Sachi's confession, he began to glorify her as the one who had carried the Supreme Lord of all creation in her womb. He continued to do so until he became unconscious from the overwhelming love that he felt. Only when he fell unconscious could Sachi finally take the dust of his lotus feet and thus be free from her offense. Mahaprabhu was satisfied with his mother and showed her his glorious divine form. Another important lesson we can draw from this story is that Vaishnavas are never proud. Even though she had given birth to Gaur Hari, Sachi had no inflated pride as a result. As soon as she became aware of having committed an offense, she immediately went without any hesitation to Advaita and prayed to be pardoned.
I have a question as far as I can understand. Mother Sachi being a Nitya Siddha, I'm assuming, could never make an offense, but this was all divine Leela.
Yeah.
I didn't understand something I was reading. It said, It said Advaita when it looked like it was supposed to say Dvaita, and then
Said, yeah,
it said
Advaita.
Advaita was able to recognize that he was a Vaishnava sannyasi. Who was a Vaishnava? Later, Gauranga also met him. Devi could also be blessed with this divine vision. I don't understand.
Trying to see where you are.
The first paragraph. Srivas asked him whether Mother Sachi see his form at the house while on a visit to Navadvip. From his vigorous appearance, Advaita was able to recognize that he was a Vaishnava sannyasi. From his vigorous appearance. Whose vigorous appearance?
Prabhu's.
And later, Gauranga also met him. Devi could also be blessed with this divine vision.
So you read the page.
So what's your specific question exactly?
Who was Advaita able to recognize that he was a Vaishnava sannyasi? Gauranga also met him. And Devi, who's Devi, could be blessed with this divine vision.
Sachi Devi. Sachi Devi.
Oh, I see. And what was the divine vision that he was showing?
The Mahaprakash, that he's a source of all incarnations. Isn't
No.
it kind of like, is the Mahaprakash like the Virat Rup?
Yeah.
Your Hari Prabhu?
Yeah, I can't remember specifically what form.
What's Prakash mean?
Manifestation, I think.
Manifestation, yeah.
Okay, well, why does it say he was able to recognize he was a Vaishnava sannyasi?
Yeah, that I can understand.
Because of her affection for his son, such criticized
Well,
Advaita.
unless he's showing the Sadhuja, which is, one of the Kathmandalu, the water polo of sannyas, and he speaks. When the devotees told such.
It doesn't qualify at all who Devi is. I mean, that's
Yeah.
But we're talking about Sachi.
Yeah, he's saying he wants to know if Sachi Mata can see this vision he's showing everyone. I understand that now. They said Devi instead of Sachi Mata,
Such.
Right.
or Sachi Devi. But then I guess even though he was showing he was the source of everyone, he could see that he was actually a Vaishnava sannyasi.
yeah. I think that's it.
I just got a
So
little.
could it be there was the
confused.
Sadhuja that he's showing?
No, these
No.
manifest
that one
how
to
he's the
Sarvabhauma
source of.
nowadays, so.
He's showing he's the source of everything.
Oh, okay. So that's it.
I understand
you
that
mentioned,
now. You
Prakash.
explained that he's showing he's the source of everything. Did I read everything?
I
No,
think
I
so.
think when
Yeah, pardoned.
I think
Advaita
when it's
and
just-
prayed to be pardoned.
So,
She prayed
like,
to be pardoned.
about these offenses to devotees, which are, the destruction of the Bhakti Lata. My question is, who has the power to gauge what is an offense to a devotee? Is someone saying you're offending this devotee an offense? Or must someone directly offend the devotee to make an offense? How does that work?
She did it in her mind, and nobody knew about it except
So,
Lord
Gauranga
Chaitanya
Mahaprabhu.
because he's God. And she's actually the mother of God. She's the Nitya Siddha.
So I thought when you asked that, actually, I thought, well, who is the witness? The supreme witness is Paramatma, and the Lord within our hearts. He'll know. And the other one that will know will be the outer manifestation of Paramatma, which is our Guru Devs, or the great
And
Mahabhavat.
this is obviously Leela because we're told many times that in Kali Yuga, if you think something, you don't get the result. So if you think offensively, but you never verbalize it.
Yeah, but who gets to call what's an offense and what's not?
Well, we have many shastric injunctions explaining what an offense is.
Yeah, for example, there is a verse yesterday I was reading. It said, "Those who think that the deity is stone, that the spiritual master is a regular person, that the Maha Mantra is just a regular sound, that Vishnu is a
Oh,
demigod, the gates to hell are open to him.
it's
So a
just leaving.
Shastrik is actually Krishna. So,
Yeah.
yes, it's 10 after 9.
And someone who's quick to judge somebody else, calling them an offender, may actually be an offender themselves.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. So Narayana Maharaj would say, I can criticize these devotees
Because he can help them.
because I can change their hearts, and for me they're my children. In respects to ISKCON, he always would tell disciples and those in the sangha that always respect ISKCON. Don't criticize ISKCON. I can do so, but not you.
Do as I say, not as I do.
No,
Yeah, in
he's
that
saying
case.
that my position is that I'm like an elder instructor.
Oh, you're meaning Prabhupada can criticize, but we
Right.
shouldn't criticize.
And
Yeah.
Narayan Maharaj was asked by Prabhupada to be our
guide.
Shiksha Guru, our guide. So he may say something is faulty, but that is for the benefit of the people that Srila Prabhupada asked him to help. And he can help them. He can see if you see if or let's just say someone's his disciple, he can tell a disciple you're doing something wrong because he can change their heart or he can give them advice. But we shouldn't fault find.
And it comes from a platform of love and affection.
Okay, so let me ask about the practicality of that statement. All right, let's go
Okay.
back, for example, to the time of Bali Mardan's wife cooking chicken in Radha Govinda's temple and keeping chicken in the fridge. Now, since we're not on the level of Srila Narayan Maharaj and we're not pure devotees, then we should
But
keep.
that's not
No,
that's
it's
not the same.
quite
That's
the
not
same.
criticizing someone. That's like if someone is doing something that is causing problems for everyone. Just like Prabhupada was telling me, and not some those words, that as long as the authorities are giving me instructions that increase my ability to chant and serve, then follow them even if it seems a little off. But if they're telling me to break the four regulative principles, or if they're coming into the temple and breaking the four regulative principles, then you can say something. Do you understand what I mean?
That's very black and white. I'm just, I'm trying to take this statement in light of what's going on in the world right now and how
Well, it's always time.
so many devotees' lives are disrupted because they see their guru promoting the genocide agenda, etc. They don't
Can
agree.
you change the heart of the guru? The guru that's giving what
gurus.
seems to be bad advice.
No, usually people have their mind made up, and even if you present other scientific evidence.
Yeah, it's a little different.
You're right.
Different because Prabhupada told us in Mexico City, for example, so Hanuman would say, the same I'm a hippie and this and that. And Prabhupada said, there's nothing wrong calling a thief by his name, and so
yeah, you can
that's
call
one
a thief
circumstance. Is no criticism to call a thief a thief.
So if somebody comes in the temple and they're offering chicken to the deities and keeping chicken in the refrigerator, that's not right. You're not just fault finding.
I heard that Prabhupada was angry because we didn't speak up.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But if somebody is doing something that affects them and they're not breaking the principles, if someone's breaking the principles but they're not affecting everyone, they're not living in the temple, you can notice that they're breaking the principles and not associate with them because you don't want bad influence.
Pay respects from a distance.
Just talking about them and criticizing them doesn't help. But if somebody's in a position of a leader, and so in some situations you might be correct trying to get people not to do certain activities that are meant to destroy other people.
Yeah.
But others
But
may
Because
object and say, how dare you try to correct this guru?
Exactly,
yeah,
because speaking the truth won't make you a popular person by
but
any means.
that's
yeah,
yeah.
But the question is
criticizing.
speaking the truth without pointing fingers, you're just speaking the truth. And then people start saying, oh, you're offending this, Maharaj, you're
Oh
offending
yeah,
this.
well, yeah,
Right.
I
What
agree
is
with
actually,
you.
is this really an offense, or am I just speaking the truth as Brahmanas should speak the truth?
No, you're
Right.
right. If
Yeah.
you're not criticizing someone, but you're just saying this activity is bad.
But in Kali Yuga, even for doing that, you'll be criticized. You'll be called an offender.
Criticize the
Speaking the truth.
criticizer.
Uh,
But
all
the
I
thing is
know,
that
How dare you speak the truth? You're an offender for not agreeing with Kali Maharaj.
yeah, on which you just take it, don't say anything. In that case, if it comes like that to you personally, and then all those good qualities they have will pass to you, and the bad ones will go to them, and that's it. They'll be finished in no time. They will fall down. There's no question about it. Now we talk about time and circumstance. Like yesterday or last night, I was reading, and Bhagavad Maharaj said, "This is the war between Asuras and demons." And Prabhupada is saying, "We."
yes.
Oh, it really upsets her, but I'm sorry, but this comes to that because it's what Gora was asking.
Yeah, I know. But what I'm saying is that when I hear how everyone is against each other and people are basing things on hate and people are suffering so much pain and misery and there's no solution. I know that when there was a plague, the solution was Harinam.
Jai, totally.
And yes, and so when I hear the details and I hear how everyone's got their points, it reminds me of when Varaha Maharaj, who's passed away, I think that was his name, he just came from a GBC meeting in Mayapur, and we thought that was so wonderful. Everyone was discussing the books, and he said, yes, everyone had their Prabhupada's books, and they were all fighting with each other. They all had their own agenda, and they were all using the books and Prabhupada's instructions for their own false ego, to put forth their point that they wanted to fulfill for reasons not based on love, not based on serving Lord Chaitanya and
But
Mahaprabhu.
how can
So
we judge? How can we judge every Vaishnav's heart and say, amongst all those who were quoting Prabhupada Shastras, none of them had any love? That's all. They all only have
I'm
evidence.
not saying that. I'm just saying everyone was arguing. Everyone wanted to be right.
Are you telling me that Varaha Maharaj
He's
passed away?
passed away. This is a
Yeah,
different
he
one.
was in Jaipur. I don't know if you know
Varaha
Prabhupada
Maharaj, not
disciple.
the American black sannyasi, right?
No,
No,
no, he's
Okay.
American white sannyas from
Okay,
he's a
okay.
Canada.
Different
Prabhupada
Varaha Maharaj.
disciple.
Okay.
Yeah, different.
Anyway,
And
so I
well,
don't know who was right and who was wrong and who had love and who didn't have love, but there was no Krishna consciousness being practiced. There was no kirtan. There was no. It was like using Harikatha to assault each other. And
instead of
when
Right.
serving Harikatha,
so when I
that's the
hear
thing,
of the
But in this
situation
case,
in the world
Trini, that
right now, what I'm saying is when I
he
hear
wants to
about it,
serve the devotees, he wants to defend the
I
devotees.
know, but I can't stand to hear about the suffering that's going on. And when I hear it, I just choke up and I get nauseated and I start crying. And it doesn't have any sense, okay? It just, I just, I know that chanting is and Harikatha is the only solution.
Of course it is, but the
But
situation.
it's not that I don't want other people to have meetings and figure things out and make a nice. It's just that I've gotten to the point where when I hear about it, I get totally upset and get hysterical. That's all.
Yeah, I understand the impact it has on you, and on other people. They don't even go on Harinam anymore because they think, oh, going on Harinam to an event where people are demanding that we should have freedom to decide what goes injected in our body. Oh, you'll be with the anti-vaxxers. We don't want to be affiliated with those people,
Yeah,
so
well,
no Harinam.
I know I can't stand to hear no Harinam. It's just breaking my heart.
Harinam should go everywhere. And then when these people now that not just the jab, but whatever it is that they're doing, it's actually ended up in devotees, accepting these rules that are actually stopping Harinam Sankirtan, then something has to be said.
Thank
Something
you.
has to be done.
Thank you.
Yes.
And by the pen, by our intelligence, by preaching, and Prabhupada, like Maharaj quoted, said maybe you'll have to defend your was Mahabodhi, which I didn't understand where Prabhupada ended and where Mahabodhi continued, but it was saying maybe it will be that somebody will have to defend physically himself because they come in to get him to jab him with something, with poison to eliminate them. So then, like Prabhupada said, you understood that too. Aggressors have to be dealt with maximum force.
I was in the naturopath's office a couple of weeks ago, and I met a fireman there, and he was speaking, fairly strongly. And I said, "Excuse me, sir, do you mind me asking what is your line of work?" And he said, "I'm a retired fire chief." I said, "Wow, you must have seen a lot in your life." He said, "Oh, I had seen hundreds of people, they died in my hands or I saved their lives." And I said, "So what do you think about this whole jab thing?" He said, "I'll tell you this." He said, "I got a few firearms on my property hidden in metal cases." He said, "If they come for me, there's going to be a lead party, and people are going to, I'm going to be taking a few people down with me." And I thought, wow, that's the kind of GBC I'm looking for. That's the Guru Maharaj that I'm looking for. Someone who's, because he's saying no one's going to jab my family. I'm here to protect them. And I really appreciated his Kshatriya spirit.
Yeah, but time and circumstance. So right now, actually, exalting Advaita Acharya, and it's his appearance day, and he's a devotee of Krishna. That he wanted to be treated as such, and so exalting the devotee of Krishna is the key to enlighten the entire planet. Actually, they're the ones who are really going to help us. So it might come, because those who have that spirit, but I mean he could have recourse to being Vishnu. He could have recourse to eliminate probably 99% of the population of Kali because nobody was qualified, and so as that Lord Chaitanya comes to kill Jagai Madai, but Nityananda said, remember what you came here for.
I just found out something really amazing.
Vijay Garanga, welcome back after so long. I've been meditating.
Yeah,
on
Dvija, I was
Hi.
going to
Hare
say.
Krishna, Dandavat Pranams,
I
everybody.
have been meditating.
Better
on
late
this.
than never, I guess.
I had
Nice
Wonderful.
to see you.
I was wondering where you were, and it's so nice to see you again.
Been a bit of a challenging few months. I've been a little bit bogged down, but
No,
I tuned in once in a while, at least on YouTube. After the fact.
that's not good enough. We want you.
I know.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we want your association.
So
Well,
I just found out that the deities of Sanatan Goswami, Madan Mohan, were actually found by Advaitacharya.
Really?
He was journeying through Vraja and he resided under a banyan tree for several days. He had found Sri Madan Gopal in Mahavan Gokula and served him there. To the fear of the Yavanas and by his desire, he secretly left Madan Gopal with a devoted Kubi Brahmin and went to Shantipur, knowing that very soon Sachinandana Sri Gorhari would appear in the town of Nadia. Later, that same Madan Gopal made his way to Sanatan Goswami, who had a large temple constructed just nearby,
The Yavanas are
and established the
Muslim
deity
for
there.
Muslims.
Since the Sri Madan Gopal became known as Sri Madan Mohan. I didn't know that.
So besides Madan Mohan, Madan Gopal are also there, right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think so. So I tried to take a photo of them, and the pujari was ready to beat me. He got violent with me, took his pic. I said no photos.
Cora, if you don't get in trouble, you're just not being yourself,
Right.
And I
We
was
gotta
just-
have some decent stories. You gotta keep it exciting,
We have next time we'll show you. We have actually the prasadam clothing of Radha Madan Mohan of
Really?
Vrindavan. Yeah,
Wow.
when my father passed away, we brought his ashes. I mean, actually, his Gurudev was there, sent us in a mission to each temple,
The
to
seven
the seven
Goswami.
principal, temples there of Vrindavan, to ask what they needed, and we can serve them. So they wanted a air
I think she's on
conditioning
the same level.
for Radha Madan Mohan. So that's
swamp
what we brought.
cooler.
A swamp cooler. That's what they had at that time. It was many, many, many years ago, and so they gave us a gift exchange. Vaishnava
They
Sangha.
gave us a
That's so
dress
sweet
from Radha and a dress from
from
Madan
Madan
Mohan.
Mohan.
And they told us when we chant japa to put
We
them
can
on
put it
our
on our heads.
heads.
We can
And
wear
why
it.
did they do? Why did they do that? Why did they just willingly do that? Because you asked.
We gave them a swamp cooler.
Oh,
First, we asked them. See, my dad's Gurudev asked them to invite them to a feast, and also to ask what service can we do for
First, he said, go ask them some service you can do for them.
okay.
And then when you do the service, invite them to a feast. So
Very
we
nice.
them, which we
I'm
did at
intrigued.
his commander.
Who's your dad's Guru Dave? That's intriguing.
Oh, it's Radha Mohan Das, and he was the disciple. He's the disciple of Bhakti Pragyan Keshava Maharaj,
Nice. Wow.
and yeah, and then he sent them. He took another a serious Babaji coming on the line of Lokanath Swami.
Awesome. Wow.
So we helped him build a little ashram in Govardhan, right
Wow.
across from
Kusham
Kusham
Sarovar.
Sarovar.
Wow.
Yeah,
You got some real inside connections there with the Dom.
it was all thanks to my god sister Govinda Dasi and god brother Madhuvisa Prabhu, who mentioned him, and he said you should go see him. And
Nice.
first he was started as a Jyotish, and then it was very Asita, but he's very well educated. He has a degree in philosophy and psychology and like that, from
Mm.
Western University and stuff.
I just
Yeah,
want
that-
to check with
Great
Pradyumna Prabhu for a second. Pradyumna, were you satisfied with the feedback that you got, the answer that you replied? I have to ask you to unmute there. Because Pradyumna was concerned about offenses. So were you,
Who judges them? Yeah.
you asked who judges whether someone's committing an offense or not. You're muted right now. Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, I'm muting because I'm having two conversations at once. But actually, you're asking if I was satisfied with the answer to my question?
Yeah.
I would say the question went in another direction than I intended, but I think so. I think that I'm just trying to confirm recent events with other devotees so that I don't become proud and think, oh, I cannot make offense because X, Y, Z, because we're not immune to making offenses, right? So my question was, say you're talking truth without pointing fingers on, let's say, a very famous sannyasi's post, doesn't matter who it is, but then people, disciples of this person, will then start saying, oh, you're attacking a Vaishnava, this is aparad, but there's no attacking. So it's like people may be not able to understand what's being said and may take it as an offense. So is this actually an offense, even though there's no real offense? Just like when this Goswami was laughing in his meditation and
Right.
somebody was walking by a handicapped and he thought he's laughing at me. There was no real offense, but still that offense was there. So if you're
But he
explaining
was
something,
offended. The Vaishnava that was crippled was offended.
yeah, but these disciples can also get offended and say, you're offending my Guru Maharaj.
Right.
Meanwhile, it's
So-
like, I actually love your Guru Maharaj and I'm speaking the truth out of compassion and love, but they may not understand this. Is this also an offense?
Yeah, in that regard, when in Sri Guru and His Grace, Sridhar Maharaj tells the devotees, in the case of your your god brother, let's say he's spiritual master now, there is certain etiquette. In front of the disciples, he'll show respect. And if he's doing something outrageous that is not really Vaishnava not Vaishnava behavior, then you just pay respects and you can leave. In private, though, Sridhar Maharaj said, you can pull his ears and tell him, hey, you're doing nonsense. But there is etiquette that which Lord Chaitanya appreciated very much.
Vaishnava
Is Vaishnava
etiquette,
etiquette is like
crown jewel of devotee behavior.
So you're saying one cannot speak the truth in public, but only in
No,
private.
well, let's say in that situation you were.
if you're speaking against what someone said specifically, then you should speak that to them. You should tell them you don't agree with it, and not say that they're wrong, but tell them you don't agree. You should, instead of publicly saying this is erroneous, because that and also when devotees speak, like myself right now, I don't mean to be offending you or making mistakes. So that's another thing. Before you make a statement, you can say, I don't want to make an offense, but this appears like this to me. And please forgive me if you find this offensive, but if someone said something that you don't agree with or that you find erroneous, you should, just like they told Sachi Mata, the only way you can be free from an offense is to get forgiveness from the person you offended. So maybe that means you can avoid making an offense by not publicly stating something that you think is true and someone else is telling an untruth, but you can directly approach the person who made the statements and discuss it with them first.
Could be a real tricky, sticky forest, eh?
Yeah, like the story of with Rupa Goswami expelled, sent Jiva Goswami away because he had defended his guru Maharaj in front of a senior Vaishnava who was saying there were mistakes and that he was going to correct what Rupa Goswami has written. So Jiva Goswami was very protective of his Gurudev, so he defeated him, and and he was right. But then again, Rupa Goswami didn't appreciate that.
So you're telling me, according to Vaishnava etiquette, these things these truths should not be spoken in public, even if you're not pointing a finger at anybody.
Let's say this guru is there with the presence of his disciples. It's a very delicate situation. If you start saying something that they think you're offensive, it's a very
but you're also a disciple, so.
Oh, you're a disciple.
Oh, this is the thing.
If you're his disciple, then you should address him privately, not public post. Otherwise, you're not behaving proper etiquette.
I see. So then you're actually discouraging that. Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm not saying that it's an offense officially. I'm just saying that if you're the disciple, then if you don't agree with the guru, you shouldn't make a public post saying that what he said is erroneous. You should directly approach him because, that's a Vaishnava etiquette. That's not.
But you can do, you can also do both, right? I'm just talking people, they just assume a lot of things.
And if you did,
and my question was not, did I offend the guru? My question is it an offense to all the other devotees?
Right. So
even if there is none.
That's why people are saying, you're saying, is it officially an offense? Well, if someone feels offended, you can see in the case of, was it Rupa Goswami, where he was laughing in his service and the person took offense. He had to apologize to that person that felt offended. So if someone was offended, even though you didn't mean to offend them, and you can approach them, ask them to offend you. Or you can point blank, to forgive you, not offend you. Yeah, go ahead, offend me. Tit for tat, an eye for an eye. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, and the other thing you can do is you can say, please forgive me if this offends you, but I think this point and that point are incorrect. But it's not that I'm speaking against the person that said them, and here is my pranam, this is my,
Certainly there's ways of discussing things, especially sensitive issues, that can be quite tricky. But um, if you come with a tender heart and with the real desire to sort of I got a problem here, and can we
Yes,
discuss this, even in the open? Let it be discussed in the open, I guess. I mean, sometimes. Because another question could be, if there's suddenly a turmoil, is that evidence of offense? Because sometimes a turmoil is a required thing. You got to shake up
correct.
Yeah.
shake
And
things up.
personally, I cannot sit by idly and be quiet
Right.
when devotees are repeating words of demons and say, oh, this is okay. I cannot say a word.
Right.
No, we
Yeah.
have a duty to say the truth. But at the same time,
To be able to
offending
do it.
devotees is never a pleasant thing.
Yeah, that's
But
why
I'm-
Prabhu said time, place, and circumstance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's
Almost
no black and white handbook
right.
on this is
Yeah.
an offense, this isn't an offense.
Almost in some cases, yeah, the general discussion is going to have to go specific at some point. You have to talk to someone that you have in confidence that can maybe advise you and bring exactly what you're talking about, and then a little bit more specific advice maybe given, maybe from Bhava training.
Yeah, I guess it's just stems from a frustration with like the movement's attitude in general. So it's like something probably a lot of people can relate to, but
I hear you.
it's like,
Loud and clear.
I've had experiences, especially on Facebook, where you can make a statement that you think is innocent,
Yeah.
or even nice, or true.
And they
you
jump
can-
all over you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can. Yeah,
oh,
and
Facebook is
also,
toxic.
Like
One
a
time-
free for all.
one time I overheard Srila Narayan Maharaj. Not overheard. He was talking to us. He was saying you should never think that the spiritual master is he's an old man, and
He knows some things, but not everything.
but he can only take care of spiritual things, but we're more qualified. We can take care of spiritual things.
Material things.
I mean, pure material things. So a couple of our friends who were sannyasis started talking like that. And he said that, if they talk like that, they'll fall down. They're saying, oh, we should be gurus now. We should start initiating people because he's an old man. And he said to us, so I'm going to test him. I'm going to tell him, oh yeah, okay, maybe you should just take over because I'm an old man. They said, oh, okay, we'll take over, And I thought, oh, he told us this was just going to be a test. So maybe I should tell him this is just a test. I said, can I say something to him? And he laughed and said, I'm working on their hearts. I'm doing from a distance. I'm working on their hearts. He says, but if you think you can help, okay, you can say something. So I said
He
something.
was so humble.
And then the whole thing turned around, and I was the bad person, and I was the,
A whistleblower.
Yeah,
Kind of
right.
that person.
Wow.
But he actually warned me. He goes, oh, if you want to. He goes,
You get
but it was
yourself
like,
in some trouble.
it was saying, oh, you think you can help? But, it was like my pride. Oh, yeah, I can help him because I heard what you said. But he said, I'm working on their hearts. And it was kind of like I didn't get the rest of the message. Can you work on their hearts? I didn't get that part. I thought, oh, he said, okay, if I want, I can say something. And to this day, those people don't like me.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that discernment of in the story of Raghunath Das coming to see Nityananda Prabhu, and Nityananda called him a thief, and then he asked him to do the feast,
Chip rice.
the Chip Rice festival. It says that when you do, there's a Bengali, there's a scriptural saying, Prabhupada said, when you do, there's a sacrifice, there has to be also dakshin. There's a feast and it had to be dakshin. But Raghunath didn't know, said, how am I going to do this? I cannot give equal amount of money, gold coins. He brought 100 gold coins and a tola of gold to give to Nityananda Prabhu. Actually, Raghavadas. He was Nityananda was staying at his house, so he asked the help from
Raghava.
Raghavadas to please help me. to know which one, what to give to each one, in order not to offend them, because there's different statuses there, the lower and higher. And so if the lower ones, the higher is compared to the lower one, and by giving him, the same amount, that would be an offense.
Hmm.
So Raghava Pandit made a list for Raghunath Das to follow, and then he gave accordingly to each one. So there's a song too. It's quoted, I forget now, but it says, "Please, the prayers are, please, Gurudev, make me a recipient of, be able to give each one the respect they deserve, to discern how to do this." So yeah,
Huh?
that comes with advancement. That
Oh,
comes with spiritual maturity, or how we're going to give respect. So sometimes, I mean, when people advance, Ambarish Maharaj says he went begging at the city of his enemy. He ended up begging, yes, and paying respects to chandalas, dog eaters.
Hmm.
And so, but if we do that, it's all artificial.
Yeah.
Artificial renunciation, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu does not like.
Hmm.
Because Raghunath approached Chaitanya when he saw Lord Chaitanya, he was thinking, I want to go with him. And Lord Chaitanya said, no, 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 no. You go back home. When your spiritual life matures, then, it'll be a time. In the meantime, if you do that, you're going to be like Marakata Vairagya. Marakata is monkey. Externally looks so austere and renounced and has no house, no clothing, but inside he's a total enjoyer. So.
Interesting. I mean, what surprise is it that we're having so many problems in the different sanghas when you hear all these kind of details of how fine-tuned all the proper behavior can be, and like, no wonder we're tripping over each other with so many problems.
Yeah, I'm not really concerned what people think of me, but at the same time, it's about this offense thing, because yeah, you may offend some neophyte devotees who don't understand what you're saying. So is that an offense you should be worried about, or should you go, well, these people don't understand, so it doesn't really
Yeah,
matter.
no, we should. I mean, we should. Look what
Yeah.
Lord Krishna says. I told you all this thing, but it's up to you now. He didn't give him the Ten Commandments. He gave him the advice to Arjuna. And he let Arjuna speak all this stuff that he sounded so good, socially, politically correct. Look at all the women, I'm going to kill my cousins. I'm going to leave widows, children without fathers. It all makes sense. But
Yeah.
Krishna says, what are you talking like an idiot? This is not transcendental knowledge. So it's easy when we know that's an acharya, and then you're going to be very careful not to commit offense. But when the rank and file devotees of Vaishnavas, they're initiated, that's when it becomes really, we have to be very
Well, it's
careful.
because there's thousands of them, Prabhu.
Yeah.
We should let them
Thousands.
say nonsense and we should stay quiet.
Well, we're not
How
their
does this work?
gurus. We're not their gurus. They
Yeah,
haven't
but
come
we're
to
in a
us.
Kurukshetra war. This is Kurukshetra battle.
It's
If we
always
if we
been
see
like that, and if they don't come to us, when Krishna let speak, Arjuna spoke, and when Arjuna said, "Well, I'm confused. I don't know what to do. Please be my spiritual master. Tell me now." So if any of those Vaishnavas that you're talking about come to you for advice, but they didn't, they went to his guru, and if he's incorrect, maybe you can approach the guru and say, "Well, personally, in private, I don't agree with you." If those disciples come to you to force you to do something that is not right, since I'm sorry, but because this and that, you're incorrect, and you're not asking for their advice. So when somebody surrenders, I realized this after making a mistake and thinking, well, this is the truth, I should tell them this. But these people didn't ask me for my advice. So that's my mistake, and it could be my offense. They're not ready to hear something, and I'm not the right vehicle for them to hear it.
So I'm trying to get some clarity on that point, Nirhari Prabhu. Thank you for making it. So if we see devotees doing things which are destructive to our ISKCON and which is actually hurting our devotees, putting them in jeopardy, um, then that saying, I kind of made up a saying. Silence is violence. Silence is complicity. So if I
It's
see
true. It's true.
horrible things going on in ISKCON, is it best to say, "Hey, I can't really do much about this, so let me just Let me just look at the Bhagavatam and
Yeah,
let me
like everybody's
let me
doing
let
anyway.
me avoid these devotees. And if other devotees
Can I-
want to hurt and harm other devotees,
Can
I got nothing to do with that. Let me just,
can
let
Cora,
Islam become destroyed. Let the Yadu
Cora,
dynasty kill each other. Go ahead.
okay, can we hear from Rishangi? She has a viewpoint
A
on,
great heart
and
and
not
Vaishnava
only
heart.
does she have a great heart, but she also knows the psychological workings and
Yes,
spiritual
very happy to hear from
interactions.
Masangi. She's
Are you
very,
there, Rishangi?
yeah, Haribo.
Raghavendu has something to say.
Oh, I'd love to hear.
Hi,
Hare
Raghavendu Prabhu.
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Srila Sridhar Maharaj said he knew about a lot of these things in 1981, 82.
Yeah,
And he said, you have two choices about ISKCON. He said, either you stay and you do better than the people who are, screwing up. You have to do better, or you have to leave, but you can't criticize no matter what.
Right, right.
Otherwise it's Vaishnava opera.
Wow.
And yeah,
Can even be Jiva, even if somebody's not a real devotee,
Yeah.
they're Bhakta Praya, it's still, it's Jiva opera, still opera.
uh,
It's a little.
Right.
Makes a hard heart, hard,
Mm,
hard.
heart, yes.
Good point.
we have to be offenseless. In order to, what is the goal to be offenseless? Is to achieve Krishna Prem and our, Trinada peace. And those who could be like that, then we can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly,
I'd
expecting
like,
no respect for ourselves. It's
I'd
a
like to,
tough one, but we have to get to that platform.
That could be pretty tough considering our natures and also
Yeah.
the tumultuous stuff around us. It's really hard to just clam up when you feel like so passionate about something. It's kind of like you need a valve, run away screaming, but you don't want to run away because we're kind of attached to the collective effort as well. So we want to contribute. It is a hard part. The cooperating is really hard, especially when there's differences.
Yeah.
Tough.
Raghavendu Prabhu, I'd like to respond to you if I may. So you were saying, if you're going to stay, then do better. Well, most of us, we barely have a circle of influence. We have a circle of influence and we have a circle of concern. So most of us are not in a very empowered position by which to do better. And if we address what we don't agree with in ISKCON, we may not find ourselves welcome in ISKCON. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So the same. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, yeah.
Are you there, Raghavendu? Raghavendu?
Who knows?
What's going
Oh, Gora.
Cora was asking you something. He was.
I
Cora,
asked you a question. Did you hear it?
I don't think
Cora,
so.
go ahead.
Did you hear my question, Prabhu?
No, I was getting another serving of prasadam.
Oh, that's a good thing to do.
Yeah.
Okay, so my question to you, Prabhu, and thank you very much for sharing that sagacious advice from Srila Prabhupada's godbrother, Sridhar Maharaj. Okay, so you're saying to reiterate, either you remain in ISKCON and do better, or you leave ISKCON. So I'm just thinking, okay, so we love our ISKCON, we gave our lives to ISKCON, and we see some travesty going on. Unless we're in a big position of influence, we don't really have much influence in our ISKCON. And if you speak up about something that you don't agree with, you may not be very welcome in ISKCON. So
Well, you're dead, Prabhu.
therefore,
Like kill you.
what I'm trying to say, please let me just finish, Prabhu. What I'm trying to say is that I feel there's a culture of fear has been created within our ISKCON, where if you speak up about something you don't agree with, you will be shown the door. You will not be welcome to lead a kirtan. You will not be welcome to give a class. Do you know what I'm trying to express?
Right. But ISKCON's the flow of divine love. It can't be that way. So if it is that way, then it's not really ISKCON.
Right. and so you had to leave that
Right.
institution.
It's like it's kind of boss or something.
Yes, you're right.
Not ISKCON proper, right?
ISKCON with a lot of bosses.
Yeah, a boss. A boss.
A boss.
Or a
But I
perverted
think the point,
or maybe could be a perverted reflection of ISKCON.
Yeah,
But it's not
Excellent.
ISKCON. Not the real ISKCON. The real ISKCON is Prabhupada.
right.
Right.
Rama Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya.
Yeah.
That the
Yeah.
movement is not Prabhupada created the movement. Prabhupada expanded it to all the world.
Right, but the movement is wherever the devotees are chanting Hare Krishna, and wherever and they're connected with Prabhupada if they love Prabhupada and they're reading his books.
Yes.
Very good. So in
They
other
have
words,
to be
what-
within the
what-
institution.
No, absolutely not. And when
Right.
76 I was in Vrindavan, Prabhupada came back from a morning walk. He was furious. And he was telling them, and this was I forget now, but a godbrother, senior godbrother, it was Prabhupada was so furious today. He said, so many problems. We can have ISKCON right underneath this tree. This is what ISKCON is. Like
Right,
Harikatha,
Yeah, there you go.
Harikatha, chanting, hearing from the pure devotee, and that was it. The rest, he says, sell the bricks. Even Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said that. Sell the bricks, sell the institute, the buildings,
And print
Prabhupada-
books. But he said
and print books.
Right.
Yeah.
What are the books about? Wisdom, knowledge, transcendental knowledge. That right now,
Srimad
we're in
Bhagavatam,
such
Chaitanya
necessity.
Charitamrita, Bhagavad Gita.
So I
Nectar
mean,
of-
yeah, and to go
Ocean.
and spend the energy to squabble and to fight when we know that the fight, like Gora is saying, they're not gonna give me the boot. So then, why waste your time? But at the same time,
Right, and there's schisms everywhere. There's also schisms in Srila Narayan Maharaj's, Sangha.
yeah,
There's schisms in the Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat.
yeah,
Schisms everywhere.
everywhere.
So in other
Human
words,
nature.
in Raghavendra Prabhu, if I hear that in our Mayapur Dham, our ISKCON world headquarters, which sets a precedent for all the other, 400 or 500 Hare Krishna temples in the world, if I hear that Big Pharma is very deeply dug in there and
Sure.
regularly injecting devotees and creating havoc in people's lives, then actually what I'm railing against is not really ISKCON. It's like an illusory ISKCON. That's what
Yeah,
I'm
exactly. It's not really.
Okay, you've cleared up a lot for me just now. I'm
and
fighting it.
the other point Raghavindu was quoting is he said, don't criticize whichever way you do it. Stay and don't criticize,
Have your-
or leave and don't criticize. So it's not up to us to criticize.
So Pradyumna Prabhu and I, we've organized a series. Raghavendra Prabhu, are you there? Yeah.
Yeah.
Pradyumna Prabhu and I, we've organized a series of videos entitled "The Global Scam and Krishna's Plan," and we've had
Who did that?
He and Pradumya.
Pradyumna Prabhu, younger Pradyumna here, not
Oh,
here
younger.
on Yeah, he's
Yeah.
here.
He's here. Yeah, he's got the headphones on. And there's a Raghavendra Prabhu in Santa Cruz, I believe.
But that's a little different. I mean, it's like you're trying to help people out so they don't have to get vaccinated.
right. But not just vaccinated, but everything.
But I mean, obviously, Klaus Schwab actually bragged that the World Economic Forum, the Davos group, that they had infiltrated politics, economics, and finance and religion.
Yes, they brag.
He said that.
And so therefore,
They've
Srila
infiltrated.
Prabhupada made that famous statement: "The sinister movement has entered into our ISKCON society."
And,
That's what happens when you're overly attached to the buildings.
yes.
You're afraid the government will take your buildings if you don't cooperate with them. So you do what they say.
That's right.
Or they won't allow you to have Harinam and distribute books. So you go along with them and quit having Harinam and distributing books. So actually what you're doing is the scam in Krishna's plan. I forget the anyway, that doesn't
Hardly
have to
the
be
legacy of
No.
legacy of Abhaya Charanarvind Bhaktivedanta.
But at the
Clearly.
same time, it doesn't have to be directed, particularly at ISKCON.
Yeah.
Just it gives people the information so they can decide what to do.
But
You don't
but
need
there are-
to.
we've given 50 years of our life to our ISKCON. It's our
Yeah,
ISKCON.
but
We're shareholders.
you didn't give 50 years of your life to the illusory ISKCON or the one that's
Gave it
not
to
following
Prabhupada.
Prabhupada. Yeah.
Exactly. In spite of them, I mean, many of us we knew in the 70s that we had to, even in spite of the bullies, that were so-called leaders, we were serving because it was a service to Prabhupada. We were doing it for Prabhupada,
Right.
not for such a
Right.
thing. Then in the 70s became a cult of personality. All this and then zonal acharyas and all this stuff. But he got
Before
spoiled
Prabhupada left,
even
it was
before Prabhupada
already
left.
going
And I
on.
told you so. Prabhupada called us in his room late at night in 75, February, Hanuman night, and he spoke against zones. And then
But he's
didn't
also
pay
full of
attention.
contradictions.
And
Sometimes he
sometimes
said
Prabhupada,
zones were good.
maybe it's just for administration purposes, but it belonged to when it was in the realm of
What year did
preaching.
he speak against zones? What year did he speak against zones?
75.
February. I was there. With he called us at 10:30 at night, Prabhupada, and Hanuman asked him, what are we going to do? Look, right now we're talking for a few days about this zona, this new GBC wants me out of the way. Not only that, but he wants me to go through him to get to you. Prabhupada
Hanuman's
said,
saying that.
Hanuman was saying that. So Prabhupada said, no, that's nonsense. No, like that. Then at night he called us back. And then Hanuman said, what will we do when you're gone? And Prabhupada said, no, I want all of you to learn the signs of Krishna. Like Lord
Become
Chaitanya said, he
guru.
quoted, Lord, become an instructing guru, become like that. It's not that we be Diksha gurus like Prabhupada. There's one. But also, I don't think he was speaking about being Ritvik. But in the meantime, those who know the sciences should teach it. That's Lord Chaitanya's asta from everybody.
Shiksha Guru
Qualified.
Prabhupada.
If you're qualified, you can be Diksha Guru. It has nothing to do with politics.
But then he said, what do we
If you-
do? You're gone. Who do I take advice?
For guidance.
For guidance, what do I do? He said, go to the Vaishnava your heart tells you to. Because ultimately,
Prabhupada said that?
Yeah, he told Hanuman and personally.
Wow.
I think Sri Kirti might have been he was in the room, or maybe not. He was in and out. So all I have now is Hanuman.
But the GBC is telling you, no, you cannot go to the person that inspires you. You go to us because we're the inspirators, right?
You don't
Yeah.
have to listen to the GBC and
Uh,
your
like-
group giving the information and giving people alternatives doesn't have to focus on what the GBC or ISKCON is doing or not.
Sounds like the
That's-
GBC Abbas.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah. So in questions of administration, they became so puffed up. But I heard recently a god brother, I don't want to name them because, saying, oh, I was, with such and such, we were the two of us, we were telling Prabhupada what to do.
we were, what do you call it?
We had power of attorney.
They had power of attorney over Prabhupada.
So, and they got confused. They got, like Gora was telling me that you went to see a god brother, senior one, and he was saying at that institution, they think that title or they think the physical proximity or administration means that, it's equal to your spiritual advancement, and that's not the case.
Yeah.
And so Prabhupada spoke against the zone. It was about preaching. He told Hanuman, there's two men, there's two opinions. He told us, actually, we were in the room, and he said, whatever there's two men, there's two opinions. So, but can we agree, don't we agree that this is the movement of Lord Chaitanya we want to spread all over the world? Yes, Prabhupada, yes. Okay, so then what does it matter if he's in the same town, on the other side of town, preaching the same thing? What does it have to bother you? Maybe you want to do administration for that particular temple, or that is more important. Or in the case, Sri Govinda was telling us how he got, politically moved out. He was bullied out by three guys who tell him, he just got to leave and whatever.
Out of Chicago?
Yeah, in Chicago. And he was doing great. I mean, he really was doing great. I mean, he bought.
I know. I don't know. I never knew the story behind that.
Oh, you didn't see Gora's
did an interview
video.
with
I
him.
did 5 interviews with Nyasi Maharaj. He's in Salt Lake City right now. I have the whole history of Sri Govinda in Chicago. It's on YouTube.
Very
Nyasi.
historically, very important. I think historically amazing. I mean, you filled up a gap. Like I didn't know what really went down in Chicago, but
I was actually there in 1972. I was sent out on traveling Sanckerton from Miami,
Mhm.
and we went all the way. We just went everywhere, right? And we went to Chicago, and he had just opened a temple there on the lakefront.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Evanston.
Yeah, and we were, of course, it was summertime. I made sure I didn't go to Chicago anytime except summertime.
No.
Oh, wait, Petita Pavan was with me.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Was he doing astrology with you at that time?
No, he was just. We were just traveling on Sanckerton, and then we went all the way out to Denver and met Pusta Krishna.
Is that is the one that
Oh,
was
yeah.
Petit Udaran?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He used to read poetry to Srila Prabhupada in New York when he was.
Petit Udaran.
Yeah, yeah.
ISKCON Press. Petit.
Oh, I think I ran into him in Detroit, and then I kind of blooped from Miami.
Oh,
Then I ended up going back months later.
yeah.
Raghavendra Prabhu, I'd love to do a little interview with you because I don't think Siddhanta Prabhu recorded you, did he?
He did.
Oh, he did. Okay.
Recently.
All right.
But I didn't, you know how like people were with Prabhupada a lot. I was just with Prabhupada a few times.
Yep. I'm not just interested in your time with Prabhupada. I want the whole story.
Yeah, we love it,
Yeah,
Gora.
I like
It's
that.
great.
I like Gora.
That's how I like doing it. I want to hear. I want to
Nothing
hear
but the truth, the whole truth.
the whole. You know,
Nothing but
where did you
Help
first
me,
hear?
God.
Where did you first hear the name of Krishna? Who was the first devotee that you met? What was the first temple that you moved into? What was your first service, and so forth?
I refuse to answer that question on the grounds I may tend to incriminate myself.
So you give me a date, please. When we could do this? It's just
We
very
got to think about it.
informative.
We got to think about it
Okay.
because
Yeah.
I got to go to the dentist tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay.
I got a root canal that's going bad.
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah.
oh.
I know.
so you might
Every
be
single
out.
root canal I've ever had, I think, is going bad.
The-
After
It
4 or
seems
5
like they
years.
do it on purpose, They're like,
I think it's called
those root
Jara.
canals.
Jara that gets to our.
When,
Yeah,
when Prabhupada was at John Lennon's estate in Ascot, Tittenhurst, he made friends with the landscaper there. There was an elderly gentleman the same
Oh,
age as
sweet.
Prabhupada. And they would walk together. And then one time Prabhupada asked him, he said, "Do you have all your original teeth?" Because they were the same age.
They were
Prabhupada
showing
was in his
each other.
70s. And the landscaper said, "No, I don't." Prabhupada said, "I do. I do." He was like very happy. I can't say Prabhupada was proud, but
Yeah.
I remember that story.
I hated that. Prabhupada, Sri Kirti told me this too. He said, Prabhupada, the photos with Prabhupada, the front tooth
Is missing.
is missing. That was only like 2 weeks of his entire life. They
They have
somebody
the
took the
most
photo
photos of that.
and they keep putting it out there. It's just like
what did they do? How did they resolve that?
he got it fixed. I think it was a falsie that something
They put a bridge, like a
bridge.
permanent
I
bridge?
don't know what they did.
Sri
But
Kirti
he
might
had a
know.
gold tooth after that.
Yeah,
He had a
Right.
gold tooth.
Right.
maybe
Oh,
they
yeah,
got
the
that.
gold tooth. That's right.
Yes.
But he had no tooth for 2 weeks, and they're like hundreds and hundreds
They-
of pictures
they
of him
decided
with
to
the
take a
tooth
bunch of
missing.
So
photos.
was he in LA? Where was he? Where was it he had no tooth,
Oh God.
I don't know. I just
He
see
told us.
pictures all the
Actually,
time.
we asked. It was Shruti Kirti was telling us this. You should like chase him. He's in Vrindavan right now. He's been living in Vrindavan. And,
Yeah.
yeah, it would be interesting to ask him like that. I asked him, now in ISKCON they're publishing this so huge, this vegan thing. It's like, and it's not what we're presenting. It's like you were saying, this, introducing something that is not Ayurveda, not, first of all, or not Vedic into our society. Why? Why do we have to do that?
Well, we
So,
listened to a class at Honolulu at New Navadviptam. We listened to Ashram Maharaj giving class. And then afterwards, they played a video, and Kusha put it on and said, "This is a must-see." So we thought it was going to be Krishna conscious. It was all about being vegan.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What's it called? The
I know,
great-
and then vegan people want to kill all the cows.
Yeah,
Yes.
They don't
Soros.
kill
If
the cows
they
if
take out
Oh, yeah.
two things, we ask the vegans: the veggies you eat? What do you think they use for fertilizer? Oh, they're organic. They're from California. There's just two biggest producers. They have two big, huge farms. What do they use? Fish meal,
Uh,
you
Blood
know,
meal,
blood
bone
meal.
Really?
meal, bone
Yes,
meal.
yes,
It's organic.
yeah.
It's not vegan.
Yeah.
But anyway,
They
that's
think they're, I mean, they think they're vegan because they use it. They use those vegetables, and they still
right.
think they're vegan.
Right.
Anyway,
So
I
then,
mean, sometimes, like sometimes I have to fast from dairy for a few days.
Yeah.
yeah. But it's
I feel like
the
it's
dairy that we consume is like, there so much toxicity in it,
Yeah.
they bleach, they do so many things, even the so-called organic, and they get away calling organic. If it's California, for example, if 75% organic, you can label your stuff organic.
Right.
Now they have the GMO grown organically, and so you have to look for two steps.
Organic GMO.
Yes, I swear.
What?
Years ago, somebody told me that. So I'm looking at that. What I said, oh, I guess I'm thinking. I guess you're right. They already modified it genetically, and now they're growing it organic. But you eating a genetically modified thing that was
Oh
grown
my.
organically. So you have to look for grown,
wow.
no
That's really
GMOs, organic, and like that. So
that's
because I tell you, all the devotees that I talk to that they have milk intolerance, they said, "Oh, I'm milk, lactose intolerant." They're intolerant to stuff that has pesticides. Have your own cow, and you tell me. And since we have our own cow, I never have problems with the milk. I drink milk.
so maybe you're saying that, like, even if we get organic milk, it may have. Well, they can't guarantee there's no pesticides in it.
it
Exactly.
doesn't matter if
Pesticides
you
blow.
offer
They
it.
blow in the air.
If you
Yeah.
offer it to Krishna, just like
Right.
Prahlad Maharaj, he was eating
Right.
food that had been poisoned, but he offered it to Krishna. Prabhupada
Yeah,
said,
the pesticides.
no matter
there's-
what, offer milk.
Yes, because Prabhupada himself from 1965, 66, he's in New York City. You think it was all, pure organic milk? No, Prabhupada, doing the needful. That's our Prabhupada. He made use of whatever was available. I mean, there was one godbrother that was coming into our disciple group, and he'd ask devotees, "Are you drinking blood milk? Everyone should only be drinking ahimsa milk. Are you drinking blood milk?" Just riling people up. And I mean, he's not in the group anymore. Can understand why.
Well, it's good.
So
If you
what I
you
told
can
the
get good organic milk, grass fed, it's better.
Yeah.
yes,
And if you
and
can get milk from our cow, but she only gives a gallon a day, she's a virgin cow.
At Trader Joe's, they have vitamin D milk, even if it's organic and grass fed.
yes,
Fish oil.
Horizon went into that mass produced stuff. When you start into mass producing food, you run into trouble. So Ayurveda, my doctor said, what is Ayurveda? Means local. You grow your own your food, you eat locally, your
Yep.
herbs, local herbs, and your milk should be local. And
Yep.
but of course, we had an advantage point for a while as a society. We could have done it, but now it's water under the bridge. So
True.
we are pretty much on our own.
Yep.
Like we need.
That's why we're in such difficult circumstances. We didn't pick up the ball. We didn't do what we were supposed to do as far as
Yeah,
But what is
establish
supposed
farm
to-
cow protection.
supposed to
yeah.
serve
So we
the
try
whole
single-handedly. And, I worked really hard, 10 years. What?
Yeah, hard work. That's a fantastic effort.
Raghavendra
She's
Prabhu.
saying that was a mistake.
Yeah.
Raghavendra Prabhu. So I understand you got to get some
Yeah.
dental work done, and you're not going to be in probably good shape the day or two after. But anytime you're ready, I'd be grateful. I'd be grateful to have your association and just talk about the first time you met the devotees and the first time. you
Okay.
met- Yeah, that would be great. We love that. So you
I'm
want
jealous, Cora. You asked me the same thing, but you never followed up.
Oh, well, we'll have to have about 10 or 12 series for you and your Hari Prabhu.
No.
Because you're an ocean of nectar. Once entering into your pastimes, there's no limit.
No, I mean, you deserve it.
I'm sorry. Yeah, we should do
I, I
that.
was just, I was pulling your leg. I just put you on the spot.
No, no,
I
no,
just teased
no. Thank you for doing that. So tell me when you're ready, and
you.
we'll do it.
I
He's
want to
ready
hear
right now.
Raghavendra. I want
He's ready right now, Gora.
Bye,
You
bye,
ready
I
to
don't
bye.
even know
stay
what
up
they're
all
going to do to
night?
my, I have no idea what they're going to do to my tooth.
Well, what they like to do is like my dentist. It's a new thing. It's put drill your bone. And put one of those, what do they call it?
Implant.
Implant.
Those are
And
expensive.
that's
Very.
so if we were in a non-COVID time, I know the perfect Oxford educated dentist who was really cheap in Delhi. He not only studied in Oxford but in Germany. He has several PhDs. He's a sweetheart and like that. I mean,
He has
so
the
I'm waiting for
greatest
that because many
equipment.
devotees, Haladini Shakti, our god sister, they got all the implants done by him, and I'm
Really?
really, really a fraction of it,
Thanks for letting me know. I'll keep that in mind if I can ever get to India
Yeah,
without
when
having something
when
stuck
this
up.
thing opens up again, I'll be glad to,
We'll all go to the
guy.
dentist
We
together.
all
I'll
showed
go to
up
New
there at
Delhi.
the.
We'll take our canes. We'll have a
We'll take our canes, but
geriatric Vaishnava convention at the dentist.
Yeah, include me on that trip. So Nirhari, yeah, anytime you're ready, we'll do that talk. And Raghavendra Prabhu would love to hear from you. So please let me know when you're available. Got
Okay.
an hour and a half to spare.
It's only
now
for
Baba
men.
is gonna pull one on you too, and I say it's only for men. Is it only for?
No, of course not. No. No. Ladies first. I should talk to her first before you.
I love Gurudev gave a talk about his book, and then I realized that the audience was 99% women. There was only Kubala Narayana San in the audience. Me before, but I couldn't go to the second one. I felt so sorry about. But many of the stories that he told us personally. When he came here to Gurudev. So, very very eye opener. Many of the things that he said. Actually, he left the movement with Jamuna. Jamuna wanted to leave, and this was 75.
Hmm.
There
Guru
was
Das
a
did?
yeah.
Yes, he wanted to leave. Yeah.
Yeah, Rashangi would tell, I'm sure it's recorded, I hope, the interview with,
It
is
is. It
what?
is.
Yeah. Oh, good. So, yeah,
It is.
listen to it. It's really,
I actually heard a lot of it. I was in the other room
okay. All
listening to
right.
it. Listening
Yeah,
to
yeah.
it.
And,
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Guru
Right, but
Das,
he wrote. He assured her that later on too, that she was still in ISKCON.
yeah.
But she
well,
didn't have
no,
to be in the institution.
For me,
yeah,
she was, yeah, for me, she was ISKCON in a sense that she was representative of Srila Prabhupada. And
She
so
really was.
made an institution very clearly, and I don't know why, but my mother, my mother's family, they funded churches. They were all this nobility, Spanish nobility, and mom got to know Prabhupada, and she said, "This is like Catholic Church all over again."
wow.
Where there was love in the eyes of the devotees, now there's fear. This culture of fear was introduced.
Yeah.
Uh,
I won't mention his name, um, but one godbrother told me he was in the room with Srila Prabhupada, and Tamal Krishna Maharaj had received the letter from Yamuna Devi Dasi, where she was expressing how she wanted to do a woman's ashram independent of any men. And this godbrother explained that Prabhupada shook his head and he was expressing, that uh, independent woman, there's even a tape I remember, an independent woman can never be happy. Well, Prabhupada was in that mood that no, but what this godbrother explained was at least from his perspective, is that because Yamuna wanted to do this, Prabhupada did not want her to make an offense, so therefore he gave her permission to do this, but only if she was, and she states this herself, that she do a simple project so that she wouldn't have to be dependent upon any men coming in. And what was further explained was that I don't know if it was Rameshwar, I think it was Rameshwar Prabhu, and others down in the New Dwarka area. They wanted Yamuna to help with deity worship, to educate devotees, to be more involved with traveling, teaching deity worship, but that wasn't what she wanted to do. She wanted to develop her project. So then that's where that famous letter comes, and it's recorded in it's a book that comes out. I don't know if the ISKCON Communications. So there was one issue which was all about senior God sisters, and she's quoted as saying in her discussion with Srila Prabhupada that she's saying the GBCs are saying I'm in Maya because I'm not in ISKCON. I don't want to be in ISKCON. And Prabhupada said, you can be two, and if you're compatible, he used the word compatible. If you're compatible and you're chanting Hare Krishna, that is ISKCON. And he said, you could be 200, and if you're not compatible, then that is not ISKCON.
Yeah.
So I found that to be quite an amazing letter from Prabhupada because
Yeah.
in another place, Prabhupada, a devotee was saying to Prabhupada, well, I'm thinking to marry, this Vaishnavi, but I'm not sure if we're compatible. And Prabhupada said, what question is there of compatibility if you're Krishna conscious? But then having gone through two marriages myself, I realized that there's a lot to that if. What is the question of compatibility if you're Krishna conscious? Well, is your wife really going to stick it out with you through thick and thin? Is she going to run away with your little child to another part of the planet? Is she going to tell you too little too late or accuse you of being a misogynist or try to commit suicide or, all the other ecstasies of some people's married lives? Uh, so, so there seems to be a contradiction there, although we know that Prabhupada never said anything contradictory. But
But
on the
sometimes it did.
Yeah.
It did. I saw Prabhupada in a video saying, "We coming from Vaikuntha. We fell from Vaikuntha." And then in his book, he said, "No, there's no way that Jagai Madai fell. It's just that nobody falls from the spiritual world."
So
So
how do
Well,
you
he
yeah,
how,
said that in
how do you
Australia, right?
in Australia, you can see to this day, you can go to YouTube and find those videos. I was like, wow, Prabhupada is saying this. So there are contradictions, but it's up to, see, it's on a level of advancement. It's up to, he's speaking to a really broad base of devotees who are in different levels of advancement or not, and,
Well, he
the general
decided to,
public.
yeah, he decided to preach the Bhakti guided philosophy, and it resonated with the devotees
Right.
in
I
the
mean,
beginning.
yeah. I mean,
And so
Achutanand,
he went with it, and then he didn't want to confuse the Australians because they were.
yeah, yeah. I mean, Achutananda Prabhu was talking the other day. He said, "No, Prabhupada was super Rashik, meaning, he brought in 68, 66, 7. He was speaking about Rasalila. He was telling the body, if you have problems with agitation about sex, go read Rasalila." And now I hear, "Oh no, the 10th count, don't jump, don't jump." I heard this so many times. Well, I'm in kindergarten, I'm a kid, I like to jump. Anyhow, as a joke. But, how long we're going to be in kindergarten or first grade? You got to promote ourselves. So then when we advance to Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada no longer is saying Krishna, Nanda Maharaj, the foster father of Krishna. No, from the very beginning, Krishna Askarya said, "I see Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj." So many times ago, the son of Nanda Maharaj. Prabhupada doesn't do any corrections. He calls him the son of Nanda Maharaj, sitting on a throne with Radhe underneath of Kanaba.
Everything, almost
Born from them.
so much is in Chaitanya Charitamrita.
So that is the next. If they ask Bhaktisiddhanta, what book would you have if everything else is lost? It's a Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's got everything. It's got everything. Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, everything's there, but it's practically applied by this through this amazing associates of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So is there Krishna himself? He said, I'll held to my chest the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the devastation of the universe. I will hold and swim with Chaitanya Charitamrita on my chest and shut up and go droom,
So Raghavendra Prabhu, these seeming contradictions, would you say they appear to be contradictions because we're dealing with time, place, and circumstance? Is that the answer?
Right. But you can't, in other words, some people are more gross, they can't deal with subtleties, just their makeup. right? Prabhupada wanted to engage everybody.
Yeah.
And
He
then
didn't want to say, if you can't understand this, you can't be engaged. He wanted to engage everybody.
right. And then, Shamarani was speaking on Guru Tattva. There was a panel of Guru Tattva. It was brilliant what she was analyzing Guru Astakam, which, in ISKCON we call it Sansara prayers, but it's Guru Astakam. And he says, Shashad Hari Tana Samasta Sachi. The Guru is the same as Krishna, but we have a Chinta Veda Tattva. So Guru is also servant, the most intimate servant. And so, like Krishna, we can compare both. Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj does an analysis of this, is fabulous. And so that Krishna is Sarvagya, is omniscient, but it's also Mugdata at the same time. Isn't it? Opposites can harmonize in the spiritual realm. All contradictions can exist together in the spiritual. So Krishna, is afraid of Mother Jashoda. He's acting mugdata, innocent, and so in order to be a child, in order to extract what? The ras, the parental mood. If he said, "No, I'm the Supreme Lord. I'm not afraid of you," just stay away, like that.
And there would be no parental mood.
There'll be no parental mood.
Right.
If Hanuman enters, Narayan Maharaj would say, if Hanuman sees Mother Jashoda pulling the ear, he's gonna like grab his gada, his mace, and try to chase, Mother Jashoda. So time, like you would say, is something about time, place, or circumstance. Also, maturity of the devotees, and the rasa where they are situated. Like the friends of Krishna, when he's tied out to the mortar, they came and said, "Oh, Krishna," they're teasing him. What did you get? What did you do? What did you do? But they couldn't untie them. And so Dinabandhu has a book. It was just telling us, it's like, why? Because they don't have the adhikar. They don't have not adhikar, but they're not in that ras. They're not as parental in the parental. They're in sakya ras. So there's a little below parental love. So the gopis, no problem. They could tie Krishna,
Tie him, untie
tie
And
him,
yet at the
untie
same
him.
time, that's not a disqualification because that's the perfection of their sakya with him. So
No,
they have that
exactly,
enriches that
exactly.
part.
And they're not experiencing any lack of ecstasy. On the contrary, they're situated in the topmost,
or lack
you
of
know,
service.
yeah, or lack of service, like
It's great how the contradictions go on simultaneously. That's the
Yes, yes. So that we always have to be aware of. Well, we don't want to see everything black and white. We want to measure everything. So
That's
I think in Raghunath Das, he says, if you want justice, and you want to measure everything, go down to Vaikuntha.
Srila Sridhar says, quotes Bhaktivinoda Thakur, says, "You will be hurled down to Vaikuntha."
Yes. Yes.
Bhaktivinoda Thakur said that in Bengali, and that was Srila Sridhar Maharaj's translation.
Oh,
I love his English.
yeah, I love it.
You're hurled down to Vaikuntha.
Did you spend any personal time with Srila Sridhar Maharaj, Raghavendra?
Just a little bit, a small amount, couple
year
of
was
weeks.
Very
What year was
fortunate.
that?
Wow, a couple of weeks.
That's not
Well, I went to Darshan every day for 2 weeks.
Where
Wow.
was it? In
That's a lot.
Navadvip. Chaitanya
Navadvip.
Saraswat Math.
Navadvip,
What year was that? 80s?
81, October of 81.
Who did you go with?
Garutama,
yeah.
Vrindavan Das from Dallas, Apurva,
Okay.
and what's his name? Somebody else. I'll tell you in a minute.
Could it be Vidagda Madhava?
No, but Doug Madhava was there when we
Yeah,
got
okay.
there.
Yeah, because that's
And what was your first impression? Did you feel that I don't know, what we felt with Prabhupada when we met him?
Yeah.
Was it something similar?
You had the feeling that, like, we knew that times had changed, right? So here was somebody, and they weren't the same. Basically, he was born 1 year before Prabhupada.
Oh, really?
Right. And he was like, even though he spoke English, he was English educated. He was very eloquent.
Uh-huh.
But he was he was like he was like a sage from the ancient times,
Wow.
like Prabhupada.
Yeah.
Right.
There was like something about it, the quality of Prabhupada. He had that quality, but he had a different, but it was exhibited through a different personality.
Right.
So it's not, you have to have the eyes to see it, I guess. You have to be blessed to see it. But yeah, like times have changed. Kali Yuga marches on.
Yeah.
So even though
Those
Srila
people
Prabhupada,
came from such a
sorry, go ahead.
pure,
Go ahead.
they came from such a pure, background.
Uh-huh. From a Brahmin family.
Innocent. Yeah.
He was born within Gora
But he
Mandala,
said
right?
that his
Yeah,
yeah, he
Brahma,
said that
Brahma,
his family was shocked. His parents were Shaktas.
mm.
I just heard that the other day.
Huh.
There were Brahmins, but Brahmin Brahman Pura or
But they
something.
were Shaktas.
Yeah, they were Shaktas.
But
That's
Srila
how-
Sridhar Maharaj was always attracted to Lord Ramachandra.
Shaktas means worshippers of goddess Kali.
Durga.
Yeah,
Kali,
yeah.
Was that not also the case in Bhaktivinoda Thakur's family? I believe they were also worshippers of Devi.
Oh yes, yes.
It was Bengal.
They have big fest. It's Bengal. So when Achyutananda Maharaj speaks, Prabhupada knew all the mantras of how to worship, Durga, and they went to a temple. And Prabhupada, what he did though, pay a dandavas, but with his right side facing the deity.
Right side.
Tripurari Swami told me that Srila Sridhar Maharaj said to Tripurari Maharaj that you should do welfare work for the benefit of your godbrothers and godsisters. The senior devotees or those who were in the 11, the position of the 11, the GBCs, they were rolling over their godbrothers like tanks on the battlefield. Therefore, you should do welfare work for the benefit of the devotees.
We waiting. We waiting.
So he has that
Sometimes
name.
devotees take a while to do the orders of the spiritual master. So it's not exactly that way, but we're waiting.
Right. So he has that name, Bhakti Rakshak, the guardian,
Garden of devotion. Yeah.
protector of the devotees.
Bhakti Rakshak.
So that was great. 2 weeks another week.
Oh, you know who else I went? I went with Kalanka also.
Oh, I know.
Oh yes.
He was in Chicago with me.
Yeah. And everybody like when you ask questions, a lot of the questions that you would ask would end up in the book Sri Guru and His Grace.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
Are you in
I
there?
actually asked two big questions, and I don't even remember which ones they are, but I remember I answered two. I asked two questions, and they asked, when I first read the book, Sri Guru says, "Wow, I asked those questions. That's so weird."
There you are.
That's
Right, but some of the questions were asked by Gautama. Everybody asked something.
Hey,
But
where was Rashangi?
Was
She
Rashan
didn't go.
What? What happened?
Well, because wait a minute. Oh, she was afraid that her parents gave us some money because we got married, right? And so basically, I took some of that money and went, right? And they didn't like it.
Oh.
She was afraid to go.
Well, at least you got to go. So she got
She got benefit.
benefit.
Yeah, yeah.
Was there a lot of peer pressure, resistance against people going? Was it a tough scene?
There was, but what happened was in LA, even Rameshwar Maharaj, he was reading Srila Sridhar Maharaj's books, well, not his books, transcripts. He was reading the transcripts on Sundays. They used to read Prabhupada, they used to do a Prabhupada lecture, and we would listen to the Prabhupada lecture, and they would Bhakti Dhira Krishna, Dhira Krishna Maharaj would start and stop it. So Rameshwar got that. He started doing that too. He would stop this lecture and then like give a purport or something. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Sure.
from
Prabhupada.
Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he would do that.
But also from Prabhupada. They first was Prabhupada,
Okay.
and then like Sudhir Bhakti Dhira Krishna. He was still Dhira Krishna Maharaj at the
Yeah.
time. He started doing it with Srila Sridhar Maharaj, right? And they let him do it, and he would do it. They would do it every other week. 1 week Prabhupada, the next week Srila Sridhar Maharaj.
Wow.
And then it became so popular in Los Angeles in 81, like this winter and spring of 81, that Rameshwar Maharaj started doing it.
Wow.
And he was really getting into it, right?
And
How
And
could you
then
not? The writing
one
is
day,
amazing.
Hari Sari shows up,
Oh.
right? And the reason he had showed up was because there was a meeting of the North American GBC,
What year are we talking? 82, 83?
81.
Okay.
And it was like maybe April of 81.
Yeah, my
And
sister, yeah, they were-
and he announced, he came to LA to announce that the North American GBC said that you had to make a choice. If you wanted to hear from Srila Sridhar Maharaj, you couldn't remain in ISKCON.
Yeah.
Wow. And that's going against Prabhupada saying for Siddhanta, we should go to him.
Right. Right.
Same thing they did to Narayan Maharaj. But then at that time, Hanuman was staying, living in LA too. 1980 was in Berkeley, and then 81, I think they came down to LA with my sister. And Hanuman, one of his best friends was Madhuvisa Prabhu, and they were all in Panorama. Do you remember Panorama Farms?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Sri Govinda was mentioning that with Bhaktadas and Rishabdev, like that. And Brishakapi was up there too. And,
Do you remember when when Bhakta Das burned down his property?
Yes, actually, the planes came. He got in a lot of trouble.
Were you there?
Yeah, I was in LA, and I heard he told me.
He got fined like $30,000.
Right. But he thought, oh, there's so many weeds, let's burn them, and he started a fire right there in the Sierra. The planes had to come to put it out. It was a big deal.
I was there. I was actually there. I remember the whole thing. I was there.
You were
Right.
there?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was in
it was
LA.
It was astonishing. Because I heard these, you know what I mean, like 1 minute, and then the flames got so big, the plane came
Right.
with the dye. It didn't release water; it released this dye.
Oh my
Right.
It was
God.
It's
chemicals.
red.
It was chemicals.
Yeah, it was all chemical, retardant.
Put it out.
fire
Put the
retardant.
fire out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanna
He
go back-
got charged.
But,
He had to pay for the plane. And
yeah.
the chemical.
God.
But at that time, it was in the heyday of not just zonal gurus, but they had their bodyguards and they had the killers actually with them. So Hanuman almost lost his life there one time. He went to distribute the pamphlets to the Rath Yatra that Madhuvisa had organized, and Rameshwar Rakshana was guarding Rameshwar. So Rakshana grabbed Hanuman. He was smashing his head on the curb of the
What?
street. Yeah.
Oh my
Wait a
God.
minute. Hanuman was smashing someone's head, or someone was smashing?
No, Hanuman was getting his head smashed by Rakshana.
Oh my God.
Rakshana.
Yeah.
Getting out of bed, yeah,
Shamarani got beat up at the Rath Yatra.
right.
First, she got beat up in New Vrindavan, but she wasn't. She had written a paper that the name of the paper her husband was the original Ritvik. He lived in Missouri and he had a farm, right? And then the way she ended up leaving her husband was she was sent out on a mission, and she took the mission. And she took all his work and she made a 35 page paper saying something that the gurus weren't appointed, they were disappointed. Right. And she came to New Vrindavan, and I was there. I was in New Vrindavan. I was traveling around. She came to New Vrindavan and she got beat up.
Oh my.
Yeah.
And then we got back to LA, right? And she gave the papers to Swarup, and Swarup Hebel. He agreed to type up the papers, and it was that 35-page transcript, right? and but she had written it. She had written it, and we we just gotten back from New Vrindavan, and we were in the office. It was September of 1980, September 25th, 1980. And so we're in there, and Sroop starts typing, right? He starts typing it. And then Dira Krishna walks in and he goes, Sroop, Raghavendu, what are you doing? Right. So Sroop told him, right? He goes, I'll let you use the office under one condition. Because Sroop could type 120 words a minute.
Wow.
It's
He was like an unbelievable typist. And so he said, I just went to see Srila Prabhupada's godbrother, Srila Sridhar Maharaj. So, and I have these 8 tapes, and I want someone to transcribe them. So Swarup actually transcribed the first tapes of Srila Sridhar Maharaj in the West. And he also did Shamarani's paper, 35-page paper. And she was distributing it at the Rath Yatra, and she got beat up by the girls.
Yeah.
Mainly the Sankirtan ladies beat her up.
Wow.
And we all know what happened to Sulochan too.
Yeah.
It's, so I mean, in those cases, somebody might not be a kshatriya, Gora, they can have a capacity, or they're acting a different way. They're Brahmins and they have family. What are they gonna do? Go confront this 11? I don't know if you remember Yuga Dharma.
Yeah.
Okay, Yuga Dharma was a good friend, and he told me that when this 11 came out with this thing after 2 weeks, Prabhupada's left, and then they came up with the idea of, if we don't step in like that, the whole society will go to hell, whatever,
But Yuga Dharma, I knew Yuga Dharma in Berkeley.
Yeah.
In 79, 78 and 79.
He was a good friend, through Kesha. I met all this.
Wait, what was his brother's name?
Janaka. He passed away not too long ago, but to
Janaka Rishi?
Janaka Rishi. Yeah.
Wow.
They had a store in Laguna Beach, one of that group that came from Laguna Beach. But anyhow, Yuga Dharma was like, his arms were like, my legs. Like, nobody messed with him. And so anyhow, he gets it's night in Vrindavan, and he gets this frantic knock on the door, and who is it? Is Ashwananandan, Maharaj at that time, and he said, Yuga, do you have a gun? Do you have a gun? I said, what's going on? He said, oh, these guys are going to kill me. I mean, I protested. They're reading all this. It's a farce. It's a farce. They're like, so yeah, it got heavy. So yeah, they'll fight tooth and nail for an institution, thinking that defending it.
I'd like to jump in for a second. I'd like to go back with Raghavendra Prabhu. I believe that the husband you were referring to, I think, with Jadharani was Kailash Chandra. He was the original Ritvik that you were referring
Was
to.
Kailash Chandra.
That's his name, right?
Yeah, so he had a farm in Missouri.
I see. Okay.
Did Kailash Chandra ever have a farm in Missouri?
He's from Wisconsin. I don't know if he ever was in Missouri.
Okay, but what I wanted to really go back to was after Harisari Prabhu arrives and he gives the official declaration from the JBC, either you're only with Prabhupada, and if you have any affection for Srila Sridhar Maharaj, you're out of here, basically, right?
Right.
I'm wondering what were the ramifications of that? Did that create a lot of was that a lot of turmoil from that?
Yeah.
I would assume.
Well, here's what was really happening was the Prabhupada disciples in LA in the fall of 1980 and the winter of 81, right? They were really starting to rebel against Rameshwar. And they practically wanted to overthrow him.
Why? Just
They
because
just thought he was a bogus guru.
Okay.
Period.
Because he was what's the word we use? Posturing, posing posing?
Yeah, but the real reason was Rameshwar, he wasn't really a very good politician. So he would insult, as time went on, he would insult everybody,
Okay.
right? And so devotees, they would, oh, I forgive, I don't, but people held grudges, right? So a lot of devotees had grudges against him, And then the Srila Sridhar Maharaj thing, when Rameshwar got into that, then people started thinking, oh, he's changing, he's getting better. We can harmonize this. And so it was a time of the community became unified.
Wow.
Yeah. And then what happened was that a couple of weeks later, Hari Sari shows up, right? And he made that proclamation, right? So Rameshwar, in the summer before that, the summer of 1980, Jadharani convinced him to take his
Yasa-san.
Yasa sign out of the temple.
Yeah, but Raghavinda, remember that actually Tamal Krishna Goswami came and he confessed in Topanga at that temple.
Topanga. Yeah, famous.
That's later though. That's in October.
Okay, because I heard
It's
this
early
story.
like October 10th, 1980. Yeah.
Okay.
But this was in the summer.
Right, because I heard the story that after Tamal came, Rameshwar then took his Vyasasana out of the temple and he confessed.
No.
To everybody. Okay, so it was actually Shamarani or Jadharani that.
Yeah, Jadharani talked him into doing it, right? And so he actually did it. And then what happened
I heard he also took it out in Denver and it was put into a warehouse or something.
But I just heard about this because I wasn't there. I was in New Vrindavan. In the April through late September, I was in New Vrindavan and Columbus, Ohio. Right. So I didn't witness it personally. But everybody told me it was, the big thing when we got back to LA, everybody had to tell me about it.
So in other words, Srila Sridhar Maharaj's shiksha for Rameshwar Prabhu was actually a shelter for him. It was uplifting him. It was bringing the community together. But when the GBC came with the declaration, that's when the schism started.
Right, but Rameshwar started the whole thing. Because when Rameshwar was forced to put his Vyasasan back in, he became very unhappy about it. And because he had thought that he was free from that, right? And then things became even more bizarre.
When you
put it back in other words,
go ahead. Sorry.
The temperature of absurdity was 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Rameshwar took the Vyasasan out. He was forced to bring it back in. Then again, the temperature of absurdity was 90 degrees Fahrenheit, then 100 degrees Fahrenheit, then 110 degrees Fahrenheit, then 120 degrees, then 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Then it was just a madhouse.
Yeah.
Wow. It became a madhouse.
Yeah.
And and they were doing and it came out that in 1978, Srila Sridhar Maharaj had told them that they cannot, they told them that Prabhupada they were doing Vyasa Puja for Prabhupada every day, right? In the temple room every morning, right? But in the original transcripts from early 1978 with the GBC, Srila Sridhar Maharaj said no. He said, Srila Prabhupada, he established Vyasa Puja every morning. So because he was worried that somebody would try to take away his position of founder Acharya posthumously. Somebody's phone. Anyway, so then, what was I saying? Oh yeah. So Prabhupada, then Srila Sridhar Maharaj said that the new gurus, they can never have Vyasa Puja in the temple room. That it's Prabhupada's temple. Only Prabhupada can have Vyasa Puja.
Thank you for this statement. Thank you.
And they can have it, but they can only have it outside. I don't know where they can only have it. They can only have that in their own quarters.
Hmm.
And then he said, well, they said, well, how often should we do it? Can we do it once a week or every day? He said, only two occasions can you have Vyas Puja. When on your Vyas Puja, your birthday, your lunar birthday, and if the guru has left, like say Rameshwar had left LA and he was in Detroit and then maybe he went to New York, right? And he was gone for 3 months. Then when he comes back, his disciples can do Guru Puja, but not in the temple room,
Interesting.
ever. And they agreed to it. And then as soon as they came back, as soon as the GBC delegation left, and they went back, to where they were from, they didn't tell anybody. And they just started pushing the simultaneous Guru Puja. So that was the big issue. And that was the big issue in LA was the simultaneous Guru Puja.
Could you please help me do a recap because a devotee was calling me on WhatsApp and it was very distracting to me.
Oh.
So Prabhupada, he has his Vyasa Puja every year, and now we have
No, every day.
Every day.
Yeah, every day. I mean,
In the temple.
In the temple.
Guru Puja every day, but Vyasa Puja once a year.
Well, yeah, Guru Puja. But Srila Sridhar said that only Prabhupada can have Vyas Puja or Guru Puja in the temple room. In the temples that he established. And if the other guru, the global gurus, if they wanted to do it, they had to have it in their own quarters. And he warned them not to have it. They should only do it on their birthday. Or if they've gone traveling, like they went say they go to Mayapur and they stay an extra few weeks, right? Then when they go back to their zone, they can have Guru Puja.
But not in the temple.
But not in the temple. Ever.
And you mentioned too that he said he was afraid that they would usurp the Acharya post posthumously. That somebody would just,
Right. That's why. No, that's why. But they said, but Prabhupada, they told him that Prabhupada, the first thing they told him was Prabhupada had Vyas Puja every day. And then he said he had never heard of that before. And then he thought about it. He said, he said, that is because he did not want his position as founder Acharya of ISKCON to be usurped.
And that's corroborated
not
by
out
his
of ego, but
too.
because he knew that if it was usurped, they would gradually change the philosophy.
have any of you?
They would have to deviate.
Nice.
But it's happening now.
We weren't pure enough to maintain the disciplic succession if we did certain things.
Amazing how perceptive he was that he got that just by hearing the evidence.
Right. He thought about it.
And it's corroborated. It's corroborated by what Prabhupada said. He says, I know he's just waiting for the old man to die. There's comments like that Prabhupada made that he was concerned about that.
He saw it.
Also, he was warned by Bhaktivinoda Puri Maharaj. It's recorded. It's in video where he says, I said, Prabhupada, but why appointing them? I know they're Ritviks, they're going to initiate your disciples, they were waiting for you and like that, but do you know that they're going to take over and they're going to say they're gurus now? They're like, Prabhupada said, yes, but what can I do?
Wow.
Right. But we all know this one too. The Bhagavat Maharaj told me that when he was in India at that time, right, and also after Prabhupada left, he said all the Bengalis knew that Prabhupada said that Gaur Govinda Maharaj and Radha Govinda Maharaj could initiate.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And
but in the West, there was all this competition to be guru amongst Westerners.
Yeah.
Right.
Radha Govinda Maharaj told me personally. I went to visit him in his room, and I just wanted to know him, just like I want to know you. I want to know all of my god brothers and god sisters. So
Well, I'm not in the same category
I'm
as
not judging,
Rod.
but I love Prabhupada's disciples. They're the coolest people, and that includes Dvija Garanga, who joined when I was serving in our um, our Toronto temple. Prabhupada's grand disciples. Prabhupada said he's even more affectionate towards them than to his own direct disciples. So anyway, I lost my train of thought
Radha
here.
Govinda, you were
I
talking about
said
Radha Govinda.
the grandfather is more
Right. So
affectionate.
I went to visit Radha Govinda Maharaj. He was very kind to me, invited me in. And that's when he said these two profound things to me. He said that I had cultivated several hundred people that were ready to be initiated by Srila Prabhupada. And this was like, I don't know, September, October, maybe even November 1977. And he went to Prabhupada to ask him what he should do, like, because he wanted to arrange for their initiation. And Prabhupada said to him, "You initiate them." And Radha Govind Maharaj said, "No, but Prabhupada, it's not proper for me to be doing initiations while the spiritual master is on the planet." And Prabhupada said, "I'm instructing you. I'm telling you to do this." And so he went ahead and started initiating. And so Prabhupada had departed and he continued initiating. And he didn't mention which GBCs, but he said the GBC said to him, "Hey, like, you don't have our permission to initiate." And he said, "It doesn't matter. Prabhupada told me to do this directly. I don't need your permission."
And what do they do? Do
What do
they
you,
back down?
oh, that I didn't hear. That I didn't
Huh?
hear.
I heard that he had it in writing and he presented it, but I don't know. I don't know how accurate that is.
But
But I've
Gorgo
heard
Yeah,
Vindamar,
it
Gorgo
didn't matter to
Vindamar
them.
waited. He waited till he was authorized
Uh-huh.
by them because he didn't want to disrupt the society.
Hmm.
Supposedly, that's what Bhagavad Gita.
Even if it was in writing, it didn't matter to them. Bhatrini
Well, of course,
had in
that doesn't
writing.
matter, but that would prove it to those guys.
Yeah.
Well, maybe
I mean,
because he wanted to show by his behavior that he was not anxious to become guru, like some other people. I mean, think about it. They were all Americans.
Yep.
Every single person.
Every single one.
He was German, but he had become he was a naturalized American citizen.
Yeah.
He grew up in the United States, not in Germany.
Who?
Hamsaduta.
Angsadura. Okay.
Constituted, he was actually an American.
Right.
Yeah.
Even though he was born in Germany, he was an American.
Right.
They were all, and so every single one of them were Americans. How ridiculous is that?
my father's Gurudev, was the one I mentioned before. He's a Siddha, and so he was a Mathura Basi, and he had the ability. If you write your question, you present it to the deity, and he will tell you, the answer without it. And
Wait a minute. Without seeing your question, he would answer?
yeah, he will put it at the feet of his deities.
Who?
Radha Mohandas.
Wow.
Siddha, the one that you were asking about my dad, and the disciple of Bhakti Pragyan Kesava Maharaj. He's a Mathura Vasi,
Wow.
born in Mathura. And he said, what are your questions? He said, your questions, wow. It sounds like I'm going to blow my own horn, but I just said, how will I be able to please my spiritual master? He really welcomed the ask. He said, wow, like really nice, because your senior god brothers coming to me to put curses on each other. Yep. They wanted, the competition was who's going to be the final dog, final one standing to be the Acharya, the global Acharya, Jagat Guru.
Wow.
So they were there, he said, I don't do those things. I don't do, Tantra and like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
But
Somebody's got to get this history down.
Yeah.
So you were watching. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
So you were watching Raghavendra Prabhu, how the influence of Srila Sridhar Maharaj was actually bringing the Los Angeles community together, but because of this new law of the GBC that it's either Prabhupada or Sridhar Maharaj, and you can't appreciate both. And this started creating the bifurcation in LA.
Right. And then it created the thing. It gave energy to the Ritvic movement too.
Really?
Right.
Mm.
Yeah.
Sure it would.
Fill them up.
People were like, at first they followed it because they'd only been hearing from Sridhar Maharaj for a couple of weeks and they had never met him. So it was really easy for them to give it up. Oh, well, we have to give that up. You know what I mean? And then like Jadharani's original Ritvic thing started taking off.
Hmm.
And then other people started developing it more, right?
And to this day, there's people who still throw out the quotes about Prabhupada talking about staying away from his godbrother
Right.
to justify that
Or
move.
not, or read the six Goswamis. Bhattarini found the letter.
Yeah,
I got, too bad she had something to do.
yeah, that's right.
I just want to quote it verbatim because it's really interesting how the
She's been that
disciples
for
are
years.
trying to guide Prabhupada to say, don't read anybody else's books. And
Wow.
Prabhupada said, I never said that.
Oh, do you remember that when Satsvarup Maharaj,
She was never nice to me
Oh,
or anything. But
I got to give
I
Sonny the
always
phone.
try to be humble
I'll just
with
tell
her.
you real fast. Wait a minute. I don't know if I can. I'm cleaning the stove and I have to give him her phone. What was he talking about?
Um,
I don't think I even mentioned it, so now I forgot it because she just yelled, "Give me the phone." She's on some kind of class, so I do have to go. But we can we can talk about this again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just
When's
doing a
the next-
warm up.
When's the next
Doing
class?
a warm up session with you.
When's the next class?
We do this every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Fridays.
Wednesday will be Krishna book or actually, I wanted to ask all of you. It's Madhvacharya's. What is it? Disappearance or appearance? This Wednesday.
Really?
I
Yeah.
didn't look at, I can tell. Let's see. You have the calendar there?
Disappearance of Madhvacharya. So, Nirhari Prabhu, would you rather read about Madhvacharya, or maybe we can read about him, and if there's time, Krishna book. Although I kind of doubt we'll have time for both.
Well, we can do. It's like in the Vaishnava tradition. It's like first you honor the spiritual masters, the
Okay.
Vaishnavas, and then the Lord. He'll be pleased that way.
So let's
And
get
so
some
we
mercy.
can do a
Yes.
little bit of that, and then
Okay.
continue.
Oh, I'll tell you something really, really fast. That's what I was going to say.
Okay.
Sridhar Maharaj actually, he said later on in 1982, he said, "I am a simple man." He said, they came to me and they told me that they had been appointed guru by Srila Prabhupada. And they're dressed like Vaishnavas. Why should I think that they were his leading disciples. They were mostly the GBC, right? Why would I think that they would lie to me? He said, but now, after 1 year, this is a year later, after we all found out about him, he said, now, but I can understand that they were never appointed guru
Wow.
by Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah.
And he said, how can I tell? He said, by their behavior.
Wow.
Yep.
So then
Indirectly, he's saying they're not
That
Vaishnavas.
was
too.
82. That was 82.
So then Prabhupada then
Wow.
did appoint them as Ritvik.
He appointed them as Ritvic, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But then
He
at what
appointed
point? Then at what point?
11 Americans as Ritvic.
Right. But then at what point does the appointed Ritvik then become a full-blown guru?
When they become qualified.
Right. Exactly. Follow, nectar of instruction. See what it says.
Right.
Also, what Prabhupada told us personally to Hanam and I, it was that all should be instructing gurus, but learn the science first.
Yeah.
So they could be maintained. They were, instructing gurus, and like Prabhupada said in Chaitanya Charitamrita, I want my disciples to maybe grow up and then open another branch. Not another.
Jaya Tirtha told me he never wanted to be a guru.
Yeah, no,
Never.
me too. Yeah, he came
They
to
forced
LA.
him to do it.
Yeah.
And then he went nuts because he
He
thought,
accepted the force.
But they forced him first to be sannyas, which he
Yeah.
really didn't
He
want.
had the most amazing wife that anyone could imagine. I've never met
Yeah.
her, but I saw her in Prabhupada memories. And I thought, my God, if you've got a wife like that, who needs to take sannyas?
Yeah,
And
I
the
know Jai
crazy thing
Tirtha
is
very well.
Rameshwar really didn't want to become a guru either. That's the crazy thing. He
It would be
didn't-
fascinating to know the real dynamics of, say, that GBC meeting where they came out with that Hari Shori Prabhu brought the word of what the decision was. There
Yeah.
must have been certain key people, and some were
Yeah,
being forced into
Bhavananda.
it.
It was Bhavananda.
Really?
Interesting.
Yeah.
And Hridayananda came out with a plan of ask Svatsarup to write the paper. You see, first they were testing
Right.
each other about the appointments. He said, well, they're going to ask us questions, so we better, have some, so-called Siddhanta, behind them. So Svatsarup wrote the paper, to
Right. But they had to use another one who didn't want to be guru, Satsaru. He kept
Yes,
trying to
yes.
drop out. No, I don't think this is a good idea. I know I agreed. But I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And they would threaten him.
Yeah, by 86, he wrote Vrindavan, our oldest son. He was his disciple. And he
Right.
said, I'm not, confess to you that I'm not, qualified to be guru. So,
Right,
was
but
the
they would
first-
when
he
they
was
when
the
when
first
they
to
wanted to
drop-
give up the position, they would threaten them. They threatened Rameshwar. They would about when he took the Vyasa sign out. They threatened him that if you don't put it back in, this is a North American GBC again, in Bhavananda. He was the president of the North American GBC at that time, and they told him if you don't put that Vyasasana back in and start accepting Guru Puja, he said, we're taking away your position. I know you think you're a trustee for life, but believe me, we can change that, and we will.
wow.
You'll lose everything.
You heard that.
Nobody stood up to him, huh?
They were powerful somehow.
Yeah. No, the dynamics are fascinating. It's sinister.
Sinister. Yeah. Oh, they could go to extremes.
I was told
So-
by a GBC godbrother that in Fiji, when after Prabhupada departed, I don't know if it was a few months later or a year later, I don't know the timeline, but that Tamal Krishna Maharaj removed Prabhupada's Vyasasan from the temple room to put in his own, stating that now that he's the latest exponent of the disciplic succession, the Guru Pujas will now be done to him. And the particular sannyasi godbrother that told me this story said he and another godbrother hit the road to go and preach throughout Fiji because they could not handle this. And then he went and got his own as far away as he could from the madness.
Well, that's what. Right. But then what happened was that's how the whole thing happened with the Topanga Canyon. When Tamal was in Topanga Canyon, he gave a speech and he admitted that they were never appointed. Remember that?
What broke him down?
He had been suspended. He was suspended by the GBC for saying, because not only did he say that put his Vyasa sign in his temple room, but he said all the GBC had to accept him as the supreme guru in ISKCON. That nobody could understand Prabhupada except through him.
Right.
He was telling the other 11 gurus, the other 10 gurus that also. Right.
Tamal Krishna Maharaj.
Yeah, even Kirtanananda. So what happened was they suspended him. They took away, they didn't take away his disciples. They just said he couldn't have anything to do with his disciples and he couldn't initiate anybody for like a certain period of time. And then he went to Topanga Canyon. He was in LA and he gave that talk. And then a couple of months later, somehow he made some deal with him and he got back in. And
What a study in psychological, certain aspect of psychology. It's just
And he wrote a book where he admitted that he was the cause of all the heresies in ISKCON.
But what about Bhagavan? See, but Bhagavan, he supported the whole thing. But actually, Bhagavan was just he's actually a nice guy.
Yeah.
Well,
It was bad association. He was carried away by bad association.
Perfect
Was
lesson.
he not one of the persons that actually put the pressure to have Rameshwar put his Vyasasan back in the temple room? Was it not? Who was the people that were having out Rameshwar that you got to?
It was mainly the president. The president of Bhavananda had what areas did he have? Did he have the Midwest or something? I can't
Who,
remember what.
Bhavananda?
One
Yeah,
point.
he had something in the United States. I know that.
New York City, Bhavananda.
Oh, he had New York City. Okay, so Bhavananda, yeah, he
And
was
also
the president.
Bhavananda in Hollywood, too. He had two movies. Bhavananda, New York City, and Bhavananda. No, excuse
So
me.
he was the president.
Srila
He was at
Vishnupad.
that
Srila
time.
Vishnupad.
He was the president of the North American GBC, and he instigated that whole thing.
Hmm.
Right, but and whoever, I don't know who else was on it.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Those are the dynamics that would be
Satsaru.
fascinating. Like who were
Satsaru.
But you know
Well,
what?
Satsaru. Yeah, Satsaru was in the North American GBC for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And maybe even Jayatirtha, but they just went along with it. They were lightweights. They got pushed around by Tamal.
interesting.
Prabhupada said the only problem with Tamal Krishna Maharaj is he wants to be the supreme controller.
Oh, that's pretty big. Yeah, Hanuman.
We have to
you know,
remember,
and by
though.
70, yeah.
He also did amazing.
Yeah, I was going to say, we have to remember that it would take me thousands of births to do as much service as he did
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
in Prabhupada's time.
So that I was about to say, you know,
You
this
tell.
historically might be,
Tell
you
your-
know,
Sangi's
all
making me
relative
go.
truth.
She's got to get class. She goes on right now.
Oh, yes.
We'll
So I have
forgive,
to say good night.
we'll
Hare
forgive
Krishna.
her. We'll forgive her.
Krishna.
Can you
Hi,
come
Gaur,
back
Hari
Wednesday?
Bol, Gaur
Please
to
come back
Prabhupada.
Wednesday, Raghavendra
Yeah.
Prabhu. Come back Wednesday.
Oh,
Because
I can talk.
Yeah, come and we'll read about Madhvacharya together, okay?
Yeah, it depends on how much the well, I don't know what's going to happen with the what do they call them? Special kind of endodontrist or something.
Okay.
Endo.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right.
Oh, good luck.
Yeah.
Hope
Harry
it goes
Fonda.
well.
Good luck,
Very-
Raghavendra.
Okay, good
Sounds
luck with the
horrible.
good luck with the root canal.
Thank you.
But we
Thank
should
you.
end up in a good note. Everything's well that ends well. And even though historically, you know, we are all accurate in what happened, but, you know, remember today's Advaita Acharyas, you know, there were, if the tree of Lord Chaitanya, there were two principal branches, Nityananda and Advaita Acharya. And they bear the most
When they
beautiful.
offended Srila Sridhar Maharaj, they said, don't you take offense to this? He said, how can I? He said, you don't take offense to like a little baby comes and passes stool on you.
Right.
I see them as my children.
Yes.
Raghavendra, you gave me a big breakthrough tonight. You made me realize I'm railing against the illusory ISKCON. The real ISKCON would never have devotees lining up for lethal injections and being told you're not welcome at Prabhupada's temples unless you're lethally injected. That's not the ISKCON. That's an illusory ISKCON.
It's kind of
Because they have no real guidance. Everyone's trying to be the guru, but they have no real guidance.
There's no head on the body.
Yeah.
Ghost
Or there's no body on the heads. I don't know.
But still, everybody has some. I mean, all the Prabhupada disciples have some sentimental affection. for
Yeah.
ISKCON.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
too many bosses and not enough dasas.
Yeah. You ready to go?
Yeah, I think I'll close it on that. It's 11 after 11 o'clock here.
Gora, can I ask you a quick question?
Prabhu ki jai.
Excuse me? What did you say,
I
Raghavendra?
just was wondering, did you get kicked off Facebook? I don't see you.
I'm suspended. I got one more week left while they're analyzing my last post, questioning. I asked, are all the men in Alachua castrated? That Mukhya Devidasi is allowed to tell Prahladanandan Maharaj, you're not welcome to serve or reside here unless you get 2 lethal injections. So I asked the question on Facebook, are all the men castrated in Alachua? That no one is standing up.
Well, but she's back. She's backed by a GBC. It's like the temple president here in Hawaii. You know, she can't do.
So you managed
You
to
want-
rile up the whole Alachua zone.
Yeah.
Scene against you, Gora. You can do it, man. You know how to do it. buddy.
And there's 2 GBCs there. There's Tamahar and Sesha Prabhu. So I guess really I should have been asking, like, don't the GBCs talk to her? Do they agree with her that a Swami is not welcome to come here unless he's willing to get myocarditis, Bell's palsy, paralysis, and possibly death?
Good.
It's just
And
madness to me. It's madness.
Yeah, people are dying. You know, but you should see. I was gonna send you, Gora, a tape. I mean, it's actually a video of an Orthodox priest, head of his church, and a Catholic archbishop, and he speaks very against pretty much the Pope and this very heavy society. I mean, the Vatican as a state and like that, he's risking his head, really.
Wow.
Uh,
There's heavy
but he-
stuff going on in the global Catholic community, right?
Very,
Like
very
the
heavy stuff.
states everywhere, just nuts.
But
It's
including our ISKCON, it's infiltrated, and that's what
Yeah.
I'm so grateful I have.
it's kind of a parallel kind of resonance going on or
I'm
something.
very grateful.
Yeah, so I thought it was interesting that a parallel deal where the
Yeah.
Pope now is promoting the jabs,
Yeah.
and this
Yeah.
priest says, "No, that's the devil. That's the mark of the devil. Putting, which is coming from embryos." He said,
Yeah, really.
it's just like,
Exactly.
yeah, and you might say, well, Pfizer doesn't have that. Well, it's just a synthetic. Synthetic means that it began at one point from the real thing. So, what do you think all this industry of abortion is? They're going to be wasting everything is profit. So they are using parts, what they call tissue or whatever it is. They have different names for it, but it's that. So
And they're hiding things too, right? As much as they can, they're hiding things too.
Yeah. So I just thought it was relevant to the situation. No, it's not only happening to ISKCON, but all the religious groups, around the world. There's just the dissension. There's a lot of problems.
This is coming down from way up. I mean, Kali Yuga, personality of Kali is coordinating this, and there's no one else that could be like. He's a presiding, dominant personality of this age.
Right. But you know what? I mean, Sridhar Maharaj, Swarup Sridhar Maharaj was telling me he's such a scholar. He studies, and he was saying, I didn't like Kali, Maharaj until even recently. He said, but I just read something about Vishwanath Chakravarti that Kali likes and leaves alone those who chant the holy name.
No, I read that also. I read that he
There
cooperates
you
with Mahaprabhu.
Wow.
Yeah.
He does.
Yeah. So maybe this is time for purification of the planet.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
What else is Kali? Why is there a Kali Yuga? There's like the Chatra Yuga. There's a Kali Yuga that comes regularly. Why do we have an age when every kind of perversion and crazy stuff gets churned? It's the natural consequence of deciding I don't want to be Krishna in the middle. I want to do my own thing. This is the natural consequence of you go full bore, man. Do it. Go ahead.
Right.
So Kali's in charge. Yeah. Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful you came back, Vijagaranga. Don't be
Yeah,
such
me too, Duja.
Well, thanks.
It's so nice
Thanks.
to
I
see
missed you guys. I missed you guys.
I can't communicate with you because I'm not on Facebook. I don't have your email.
You gotta exchange emails, please. Oh, by the way, Gora, a messenger, you have a red dot, and I try to send you things, and they come back to me undeliverable.
Yeah, I can't get nothing on Facebook. They're about to.
I can't even find you on Messenger anymore.
I'm pretty
Wow.
much done. I'm done
Wow.
on Facebook unless I start another account. But I just want to thank Pradyumna Prabhu. He already knows I'm very grateful to him. We've put out 5 videos so far where we're attacking the global scam.
I've
And-
watched 1.5 of them. I'm working on it. I want to see them all.
Oh, great.
Yeah, they're good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're
June,
watching
I
it.
haven't met you before, and you're sitting there so peacefully listening to all this stuff or putting up with the old guys yapping. Thank you.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure. Actually, I take refuge in the devotees one way or the other. We have to associate with like-minded devotees. I don't agree with
Yes.
everything everyone says here
For sure.
or in any forum, but I think it's important to always approach devotees. Otherwise, we're just left with our speculation. And this is
Absolutely.
the real
And we
danger.
have to get the multi-generational thing going. That's a big thing, and it's kind of like
I was telling Gora this, our talks, I really appreciate them. And I feel like this is 2 different generations exchanging rasa. This
it's
is
meant to be.
this
Life
is
is
actually
meant to be.
rasic, and it's actually, teaching me that there's so much censorship, not just about the COVID thing. The censorship's been going on for decades. And the frustration of the devotees, and I see all that, but we have to rise above that, and we have to.
We do.
People have to inspire each other, and you as senior devotees and as potential leaders, as elders, I see you. We all, you have a duty too to, even come like and inspire us, teach us how it's supposed to be done. Not
It's
just sit
life-giving
back
for
and say, oh yeah, like, there's a fault here, there's a fault there, there's a fault here, so I'm paralyzed. No, we have to
Right.
practice and go, okay, well, if it's true that there's nothing greater than Harinam Sankirtan, well, then come out and show us how it's done.
Yeah.
And
Well,
for
let me
us,
tell
from my
what
side, we have to also be open to that, and I'm open to that, and I'm
Yeah.
trying to encourage devotees to reach out and to work together and to preach, to chant together. It's
Sure.
not about this temple, that temple, this manager, that manager.
I
We all
mean,
have a potential for that. So
Yeah.
Pradyumna, here in where we live, there's 3 generations of devotees, all the way to the little ones. We all get together, 4 generations. We all get together. We didn't care about whether you gotta wear a mask or anything like that.
yeah.
And they did get COVID, and for a week they had to close it, but we're open again.
We're still
And
doing Harinam.
we're still doing Harinam,
But
getting together, Harikatha, respecting all the dates, and
But my
we're not
point is like this
potential
whole thing
leaders.
about
We're potential in our graves.
potentially did.
yeah, but yeah, I appreciate y'all, and
But yeah, I appreciate that.
any
I like what you said, because it's pretty much what I always understood from Srila Prabhupada. There is a rules and there's a no, but always they said, where is the positive? Where is the positive? And now
That's
today
right.
with Raghavinda saying, Sridhar Maharaj said, well, be perfect if you can. But now maybe the time passed for that particular group to be able to be, do something. So, here devotee said, okay, whatever, we are the sons of, disciples of Prabhupada, grandchildren of disciples of Prabhupada. We're all getting together. Everybody's chanting here.
yeah, that's right. And for me, it's just valuable to hear the different opinions of different devotees, and I realize I don't agree with everything, but at the same time, you got to look at the common points and where the truth lies in that, because to me, like empirically, scientifically, the truth lies in commonality, not in the difference. So you have to look where devotees are reaching the same conclusions, and that's what I kind of
Yeah.
meditate
Well,
on. That's
Prabhupada
why
told,
I like these sanghas,
yeah.
Nice.
Pradyumna, what Prabhupada told me personally is that he said, wherever there is 2 men, there's 2 opinions. He said,
Exactly.
but what is the common ground? He
Yeah,
said,
so
you
there you
both
go,
want
confirmed.
to push Chaitanya's movement, don't you? And the God is, yes, Prabhupada. So do it. Why do you have so concerned about if he's on the other side of town and you're here and he's preaching in my zone? That's what Prabhupada didn't like. So he said, but he
Yes,
stressed the positive. He stressed the common ground. The common ground is that we want to, our agenda, or if you want to call it that, is that we want to bring knowledge, bring happiness, bring benefit to the entire humanity. Ignorance is
this
prevalent.
is very true, and I hear a lot of ISKCON preachers speaking like this. But I would also add, we want to bring truth, absolute truth, and
That's Krishna.
yeah, yes, but you cannot be adopting other doctrines, and just blend it in. You cannot add or subtract,
Can you
right?
give an
No, I
example?
wasn't.
Can
I
you give an
wasn't promoting
example?
that. I don't know
Can you
if you
give an
understand.
example, please, of what you mean by other doctrines? For example.
Like, for example, this whole COVID thing, where we adopt the distancing thing and we adopt the masking thing, and we adopt this slavish mentality, and
No,
it
here
becomes
we
part
dropped
of
all
the.
that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I'm just talking about in general, everywhere
Oh
you
yeah.
look. So
I agree.
for me,
Or
like as a devotee, we have a duty to go beyond that and go, hey, actually, this is demonic nonsense.
yes,
So
It's
but
true.
in
this
front of
is the thing that
Can't allow
I
the
am
infiltration of the
exactly. You cannot add or subtract to
yeah.
Prabhupada's
No
teaching.
compromising on the principle. Yeah.
And
like in front of
people
this.
will say the principle is Krishna. Nothing's bigger than Krishna. But
Yeah,
from where
but
I stand,
that's not fully practical response, right? You're
that's
you're
a slippery
talking
slope.
specific practicality of but what does that actually mean? It's nice words, Prabhu,
Right.
but how does that
Does that mean we should wear a mask on the altar because COVID? I mean, no. I
put a
mean,
mask on the deity?
Or
No, well,
should we squeeze sesame seeds oil to do the arti for Krishna? Because the
Vegan.
milk products are evil.
Yeah.
what I get from you, Prabhus, is basically, like I said, I just look for where devotees join each other in their philosophy, and it's very difficult not to criticize anybody. So I'm really working on that, because it's easy to criticize, and it's even easier to criticize and hear.
Yeah.
So having the opportunity to hear from you guys and share and get realization, this is important. I don't want to just be like, oh, devotees are adopting this thing, so then the devotees everywhere know they have realizations, and we can learn from everyone. So that's just giving me an opportunity. They want to stop us from going here and there, so we have to have sangha one way or another.
Right.
I really think that this is super important. And also, like, this is beyond Facebook. Like, I cannot stand going on Facebook and hearing this and that, because it's just all artificial and
Nothing gets
mainstream.
resolved.
And
It only gets stirred up, right?
Yeah. Look at how Christianity, if you study the story of Christianity, we're like back again to like similar times where the first Christians were persecuted right, by the state, by congregating.
Sure.
They couldn't
this is
exert
a history repeating itself, and it blows my
when
mind.
did Christianity got screwed up? When it became part of the state, the official religion of the state. And now ISKCON wants to be that. Well, let them be that. But
well, if you check out our podcast, part 4, Raja Krishna spoke, and he said that this is very well having sangha and everything, but the fundamental issue will never be fixed, and the golden age will never be ushered until the banking system is finished. Because actually, the bank is what's controlling this whole thing. This is the Rakshasa central.
The family
this is
Ravana.
and it's all about profit.
Raja Krishna Prabhu sent me an entire video showing that this was what Hitler was against. The whole world puts down Hitler, and I'm not like advocating for Hitler, but I find it interesting.
But you know what Mussolini said? Mussolini said capitalism is the perfect blend between politicians and the corporate world.
The worldview of Hitler is not a clear picture of who he was.
Skewered.
Of course not. The history is all.
He wasn't a saint. I mean, come on, guys.
No, heck, no.
If you look at
but his image has been manipulated to continue the particular agendas that are ongoing.
This meme that's going around is so good. It says, like, if the news is fake, then imagine how bad the history is.
Yeah, so it also got down, that some people are saying, oh, the Jews ruined the movement. The Jews are the bankers, the only greedy people on the planet. And yeah, there might be some of them like that. But what about J.P. Morgan? What about the Bushes? What about the Gates? Are the Gates Jewish? I don't think so. And they're
smoke and mirrors.
It's
smoke and mirrors. It's always trying to divert from, and this is
I think that this is the thing going to happen this year that will change the world in a big way. Is the actual banking system will collapse. It's already dead. They're just printing money to make it relevant still, but it's completely dead. So this will be that real start of the golden age.
That's the invention, and that's for little people. That's smoke, a little paper and give value to that. But you know what they're gonna recourse to is what they have tons of it.
Yeah, but Prabhu, this is what's actually controlling ISKCON in a way.
Yeah. Well, ISKCON's bowing down again. Like I said, it's like
so once this banking system is finished, I have a feeling that this deviation will also finish.
But those 6 enemies will still be there. Greed, anger, lust will still be there in the heart of man. Unless we do something to, change the heart of man, nothing will really change.
I think you're both right, because we also know from scriptures that where is Kali allowed to reside? I mean, there's 4 places. When Parikshit was here, there weren't those four places. So he needed the 5th, and that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the money. We're talking about the banking. That's where his main pressure is. So
Correct.
that's where the pressure is on.
Gold
right
is gold is hoarded. That's what it is. When the four principles, regulative principles, are broken, that's where he is. Yeah.
Well, at least if you have gold, you have gold. If you have digital money or just
It's
paper,
nothing.
that is
Yeah,
actually not
paper,
anything.
nothing. Yeah, yeah.
It's
So I think that will be.
Jai Prabhu's. I'm
Sorry.
gonna have to go, but
Yeah, me too. So see you Wednesday, Divija. If you can come back, you can hear in your Hari Prabhu's realizations.
oh God.
And Baba Trini's as well, equally as enlightened. And maybe we'll have Raghavendu, although he's having his teeth worked. And
Yeah, it
Pradyumna.
was nice to have Raghavindu, and
Ah,
he has, and all this time I've been, we're good friends, and I really love Raghavindu and Rashangi. I
yes.
really have a lot of admiration.
And I'm indebted to all of you for your company. So thank you so much.
And yours,
Do you
thank
have
you,
a
Gora.
phone number, Gora?
Sorry?
Do you have a phone number?
Yeah, 1416
Yep.
848
848
6283.
6283. Okay. Thanks,
Yeah, let's
Prabhu.
keep in touch.
Thank
That's
you.
WhatsApp also. WhatsApp as well.
Yeah, let's not lose contact.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you,
All right.
everyone. My obeisances to you. Vanchakopa.
Vanchakalpa Tarvisha.
Vicha Patitanang Pavnibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitya
Jai.
Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari.
Advaita Acharya Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.